All right, welcome everybody. So it's Tuesday, January 26th. This is a meeting of the Ware Finance Committee, one of potentially two if we're back here tomorrow. Why don't we start off with...
Tom, 1 second. Let me let Leah in so you can have your minute taker.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I knew we were missing someone.
I believe she's in.
Leah, can you hear us?
Yep, I'm here.
All right. The only thing you missed is no issue. Only thing you missed is we called the meeting to order at 6:30, exactly on time. I want to make sure that that's noted.
I was like, holy crap, what time is it?
Yeah, it's great that everybody could come a little earlier. Meg's hopefully getting her family squared away here. So why don't we start off with, you know what? Let me bring a document up real quick because let's use the same order of attendees as we did last week on a separate sheet. Here we go. So we'll start off with a roll call. So first we have Tom Downing, and then we have Meg Fallon. Leah is here.
Yes. Yes.
Do we have Neil?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Tom Clow?
Here.
Gary? No Gary. Okay. James?
Present.
Dennis?
Here.
Tammy? Okay, so next is Rachel.
Here. Sorry, I couldn't get unmuted.
No problem. And then we've got Bill.
Here.
Okay. So Leah, I'll just try and keep an eye out. And if you
Wait, you missed me. This is Nicole.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wow, how did I do that? Nicole's here too. Yeah, my other screen's really dim. Let me just fix that. It's not the loose nut behind the keyboard at all. Okay, so we'll just keep an eye out if Tammy joins, or Gary.
And we have Bob Zena.
Oh, hey, Bob. I don't see him. Oh, there he is. Okay. So why don't we, so this is where we left off. Let me get back to my agenda. Unless there's any major opposition, I think that we should go right in to start talking about the town, because I think that it doesn't matter whether we do minutes tonight or in another meeting. I think the pressing matter is getting all the business done on the articles. Excuse me. We can do meetings together subsequently or at the end. All right. I don't hear any major objections on that. What I do want to do is, I thought about this for a minute, is in regards to the subcommittees. I do want to go around the room for each subcommittee, just in case there's been any other discussions, revelations. I don't want to get bogged down in the deliberative session type stuff. But other than maybe just a quick update, I know Megan had given me a heads up. So why don't we start first in regards to the town, the folks in the town committee. I wasn't able to, I don't know if there are any further discussions, budgetary changes or wording and things of that sort in regards to the town. Monday, because I wasn't able to listen in on Monday. So we're still going off the same version of I didn't see anything else, but we're going off the same version of the booklet that Beth gave us a little over a week ago.
I didn't see anything on the agenda that would indicate they were going to be discussing changes in the budget, so I did not attend.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else in the town subcommittee? Just any comments or anything?
No, I played hooky as well.
Okay, James. All right. So in regards to Stark, I know that I saw that there was a meeting last Thursday. I kind of got an update from Wendy. I don't want to really get into the debate about what they're doing or not doing, but it sounds like deliberative session's still up in the air. I don't think that affects us at all because we already voted. I think the only way that affects us is if there are changes made, when those changes are made, and then we have work to do. Does anybody get a different impression of that?
Nope.
The note from Ellen said that, or from Eileen said that in the end, it's up to the moderators, so we can look for something coming down the line shortly.
Yeah. I didn't, the wording that I saw with, from Wendy, it wasn't exactly consistent with what we had heard, but so I just decided that it doesn't really affect us. Now, we could talk about this later, but Megan expressed a concern about there being that meeting tomorrow, the school board tomorrow night. And what she said was, all they're going to discuss is the deliberative session. And my recommendation was, and then the question was, should we move our meeting tomorrow if we are having it? My recommendation was no, because it doesn't have a net effect on us either way. But if folks, you want to give this some thought through this meeting, if it profoundly affects you personally and you think we all need to start the meeting later because of it, if it runs late, that's a different story.
Well, if we have something that we want them to know, we can email them and they will receive our opinions by email.
You mean regarding the meeting tomorrow?
Yeah, about being at a deliberative session. We don't email them anything about our work, but if we as citizens want some input on the deliberative session, we can send them an email and attend this meeting tomorrow night.
Oh, that's a good suggestion. I didn't realize. So within the time frame, they'll actually read the question and then address it if you send it today. Okay. Any other comments on Stark or Ware School District? All right. So let's go. We're going to go right into our new business, which is town article. So I think what I'm going to do here, and I'm open to suggestions from the committee. Do you want me to screen share the booklet? Would that be helpful? And I'll try to flip pages as we discuss.
Yes, that would be very helpful.
All right, give me a second. Naomi, could you give me permission to share, please?
I did it for you. I think you should be able to.
Yep, I'm doing it right now. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to do one more thing. Bear with me a second. I'm going to grab my notebook as my booklet. Sorry about that. I wanted to grab the hard copy at the same time. Okay, so I have to start with the warrant and read the warrant for the budget. So let me go to that. This doesn't scan very well. I mean, doesn't scroll very well. Naomi, is the article actually in the pamphlet?
No, it was a separate handout that night.
Crap.
It says town warrant, and then it's like 6 pages with the articles. 5.
Yep, that's the one.
5 pages.
And I don't have. Is there an electronic form of that? Because the one I've got is not the one I was looking for.
While you look for it, do you want me to read off the first one, or do you want it? I can email it to you again.
That's funny because you already sent it to me. Yeah, if you don't, if you don't mind shooting that over to me, that would be great. But if you want to read it first, I actually thought it was in here, and I didn't have enough time before quitting work to do it.
I'm with you. All right, I was trying to find Naomi's email, but I'll read it and then we'll go from that.
I'm going to stop my share. Let me look for it at the same time because I want to try and bring it up here.
All right, so the first one we have is Article 9. It says, shall the town raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other aberrations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant, or as amended by vote of the first session for the purposes set forth therein, totaling $7,154,140. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $7,009,592, which is the same as last year, with certain adjustments required by previous action of the town or by law, or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13-10 and 26, or actually 16, and take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. And let me see if
I brought it up. If you wouldn't mind just taking a quick look. I think this is the one we're talking about. I'd like to have it up with.
No, I think that's the old one, because the new one that she sent out actually says Article 9. I don't know if anything has changed.
Yeah, that number, the
Okay, let's
7,153,000 is now 154, because I have the old version too. So I gotta find the new version.
And did that come from Naomi or Beth? Do you know?
I believe it came from Naomi.
Or it's
because
Naomi.
It was before. It was no. It was for the public hearing. So it was her email on January 18th, 2021. I'll forward to you right now, Tom.
Wait, what was the date?
I have January 18th.
Okay, thank you. I'll find that and then bring that up.
All right, Tom, I just sent it to you.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to just make sure I had it up while we were talking, and clearly I have all outdated information.
There's a lot of emails. It's
okay. I think I just found it. It's at 4:16 p.m. Warrant meeting, and I'm just going to reshare here now, and I think this is the one. And so, yeah, this is it, right?
That's what I have.
Yes, that's what I have as well.
Okay. So now that we're on the correct warrant article, let me just see that starts at the end there. I'll leave it in the middle. And okay, so I got a procedural question. I realize we've been running this different, but can the chair make a motion to recommend, or is that typically not the way we do it?
Legally, a chair can make a motion or second a motion and of course vote. The practice in many places is for a chair not to make a motion unless nobody else is doing it. And it's also the practice for the chair to vote last, not first. But those are practices and you can do whatever you want, Tom.
No, that's why I asked. So I'm going to continue with that not making a motion. I meant to ask it before. So I think at this point I'm looking for a motion on Article 9.
Then I'll make a motion to recommend Article 9.
I'll let you know.
I'll second that if no one has.
Okay.
Who was that second? Was that Tom C?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So Article 9 is up for debate and discussion. Who wants to start?
I can if nobody else wants to. Bill Anderson. When I looked at the numbers, just for planning purposes, the current versus the proposed current budget that we're operating under now and the proposed budget, it's a 4.46% increase. The current budget versus the default budget is a 2.35% increase. So even the default has about over a 2% increase. Just real quickly, looking at this, I kind of looked at all of the articles on the town and said, what would I be willing to live with? And I'll give you a quick snapshot. It's a default budget. If we went with a default budget at 2.35% increase, and then we went what I call tread water, maintain what we have. Some examples of that would be a police cruiser, yes, a plow truck, yes, a trash trailer, yes, and road reconstruction, keeping up with what we have. Just a default budget and those four adding down, and you carry over what we did last week with schools and carryover, it would be a $25.24 tax rate. It'd be a $1.29 increase over 2020 on a tax rate, and a $322 increase on a $250,000 house. And that's kind of where I'm looking at things of approving some, not approving some. People are going to have different ideas of what they want to approve, but I'm kind of looking at a number about that much I'd be willing to absorb, which is about it'd be a 5.4% increase in my taxes currently. And I recognize that revenues are going to be down. And the other thing on the town budget, and Naomi, correct me if I'm off base here, but if we're going to get CARES money during the year, more money comes floating in, I would think it would be easier to backfill those monies into our operating budget, as opposed to if we went with a town budget, but then we shorted ourselves in some of the other warrant articles. You can't just buy a police cruiser or a plow truck with the CARES money coming in. So it's I'm kind of looking at it from a standpoint of holding what we have and planning for potential other revenues coming in, which would be easier to backfill into the operating budget. So that's why I'm leaning towards going with a default budget.
I thought last year, that is to say 2020, when we were operating under basically a default budget, that the selectmen were able to contribute over $300,000 towards the town surplus and use that to offset taxes. If that's the case, and Naomi can give me the exact number, that means that the default budget has a lot of room to take care of the additional required spending for healthcare and pensions and other things that are beyond the selectmen's control, without raising taxes to cover them.
May I make a comment on that?
Yeah, Tom.
The money that was used for offsetting taxes would have been a surplus left from 2019, I believe, not from 2020. Naomi can verify that, but they wouldn't have had the information for 2020 when they set the tax rate.
No, I apologize. I think you're right, Tom. But I think my $300,000 is for 2020. Naomi, would you confirm that or explain the surplus for 19 and the surplus for 20?
Actually, Beth, are you on, Beth?
She is on. I see her.
Beth, would you mind, or what would you like?
I can't. She doesn't have a camera on, and I can't see if she's muted or not. Naomi, can you?
Okay. Yeah. All right. No, she's not muted. So the 300 that we did apply to the tax rate was 19s. Obviously, 2020s have not been audited or anything yet. A good share of it was, under what was left over. I'm just trying to think if I could try to explain it any easier, but I do know it was money that was not spent, and there was some warrant articles that also did not get fully spent at the time.
Could you give us the number for 2020 or an estimate?
We had that somewhere.
I was going to say we had that. No, I think it's closer to 2 something, 290.
Okay.
We provided at one of the meetings. I'm just trying to find.
2020 revised revenues for the operating budget, 3,109,503.
The question, Chris, is not revenues. The question is surplus.
Oh. That's not broken out in this. There is a big thing here about sale of town property that is not going to happen this year. So
It's never going to happen again.
Unless someone changes the law.
Right, because the law changed so that even if we hold on to it for 3 years, it still has to go back to the court or the former owner. That's the biggest difference that we have, because 2 years in a row, we sold over $200,000 that we were able to do for unanticipated, and that will not happen again because of the Bedford case that was settled. So we get pretty much everything back on the warrant anyway. So we still have 3 houses that we need to sell, but unfortunately, they all go back to the previous owner.
May I, Tom?
Yeah, I'm going to procedurally, I'll just interrupt and say that I think that we just have an open discussion like if we were in the same room, unless the conversation gets out of control. I don't see any reason why you need to ask for the floor. Tom, go ahead.
The reason that previous year is used for the tax rate is because whatever is there for 2020 hasn't been audited. So that until there's an audit of 2020, there won't be a specific. What Neil asking is an estimate, and that's certainly legitimate. But as far as what was really left from the budget until there's an audit done later in 2021, we won't have that figure, the correct figure.
I think Naomi already answered the question, Tom. She said about 290 plus.
Yeah, okay. Just putting in my 2 cents.
Yeah, and that's unaudited, as you explained. Yep.
May I ask a question about the budget? Something that came up at the town, at the public hearing on the 18th that relates to the default, which we have here. I know that we have no power to change that, but I don't know if there has been a discussion among the Board of Selectmen. But in the police budget, there were 2 people, one including myself, who brought up the fact that the under full-time officers' salaries, the proposed budget is higher than the default because the police chief hired some experienced officers. But I think that all would fall under the contract because you're always going to have changes. Anytime you have a change in staff, if you follow the contract with the police union, then you're going to have to live by that. So I think that whatever that figure is should be the same in the default budget as it is in the proposed budget, which is about an $18,000 difference, a little more than that. So, you're talking about, 2.5 cents on the tax rate right there, the difference between the default and the proposed, if you leave it the way it is. And I just think that should be, even though it can't be changed tonight, I think that it certainly should be discussed by selectmen before we go to the deliberative session.
Tom, I think there's a different interpretation of the state statute here. The state statute talks in absolute dollars. If in fact a contract requires you to do something different, you have to use those dollars or bring in dollars from elsewhere. But in terms of the default budget, it's pretty clear, I think, in the statute that whatever you spent last year, regardless of the contract, is the amount that you put in for this year, with the exception that if the contract, which has been approved by the voters, as ours has, requires current employees to get a raise, that would be included in the default budget, but not additional expenditures for higher priced new hires. But as you say, that can be hashed out at the deliberative session.
Yeah, I think it has to be because, and again, I don't want to prolong our meeting tonight, but I just believe that if it's not allowed to default, that every time there's a different hire in the department, it's not going to end up in the default budget. It's going to be that gap each time. But anyways, I'll let it go for now. We'll see what happens later.
And I can add, if you don't mind, I'll address that. We talked about it Monday night briefly, and it was answered this morning. Along the way, we changed one officer to a corporal, and that gave him a bump in pay. That's in proposed, not in default. There was two other officers they bumped up, not in default, but they're in the proposed. And then there was an increase for Chief Moore, but all of those are not in the default, they're in the proposed. And that was explained this morning because I asked, I didn't have that answer last night, and the finance administrator sent it to the board this morning, and I'm just looking at that to give you what was sent this morning.
Naomi, could you tell us by position the increases that are in the proposed budget and not in the default budget, the chief's increase, et cetera? Your increase, Beth's no.
My increase doesn't have nothing to do with it. My increase passed the budget.
Correct. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Beth's increase, Benji's increase, and so on.
I'd have to look a little deeper for that per person, but to answer Tom's question, they are not in default. They are in proposed only. So the default does reference exactly what it's supposed to, and any increase that was provided is in proposed and not in default.
Yeah, I think so I had a similar concern that Tom did, and I think Tom's point was not that it was in default. It was more that should it be in default? And I think Neil answered it to the way he understood it. But I had the same equal concern, which is if you're contractually obligated, that net difference works in either direction. Yeah. So if we already had higher paid officers and then we lost higher paid officers and paid new officers, there'd be a surplus, but that would still be in the default. And so logically speaking, I was thinking that would make sense if we were contractually obligated to pay at that rate for that particular rank. Then why wouldn't that be in the default? Why do we have to vote for that? That's I had the same concern.
Yeah.
Naomi, could you share with the committee the positions and the amounts for those salary increases that are in the proposed and not in the default?
Yeah, I don't know that I can. I brought about every piece of paper I could off my desk, but I don't know that I have it.
Okay. Well, whenever you can.
We can share that with you, but I just wanted, anybody that was there Monday night and said that we should be doing it one way or the other. Just to let you know that those increases are not they're in the proposed, but not in default.
Again, may I just, again, not to prolong it, but I think that would be something for the people covered by the contract. I think you might want to touch base with legal counsel on it. The chief's raise, if it's in there, but it wouldn't be anyways because it would be in a different place, but because he's not under the contract. But I think anybody who's under the contract, we should get an opinion on it before deliberative. My opinion doesn't count. A legal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I can get you those numbers. I apologize. Like I said, I got about 3 stacks of papers, but I didn't have that exact. And can I just go back one? So the surplus for 2020, it was $293,000 left over for 2020. And then if you add the little bit that came from the warrant articles, the total actually is $307,000. And we used to offset taxes in 2020, which was 2019's money, was $350,000.
Okay, so sorry, Chris, you have a question? See your hand.
Yeah, I have a couple of things. Since 1997, we have passed 7 budgets and we have had 17 default budgets. That's just a little factoid. speaking to Bill's suggestion, I see a lot of our warrant articles as safety, both safety for our employees who are our internal customers, and safety for our townspeople who are our external customers. And there's no, you know, just there's no wish list here. These are things that are unsafe that need something done. So that's point number 2. Point number 3, it's too late to do anything about right now, but I think it would be helpful next year for the library to speak to the Finance Committee, because they have a 13% increase on their wage line, and they added a part-time position. So, you know, we didn't get this in time to really do anything with it, but that is a small budget driver in the total picture for our town budget. So that's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
I did have a clarifying point. So Neil was asking about, you know, the increases for the different director heads. So the one of them that jumped out at me was like 23% of an increase. I was trying to remember from last year, the second warrant article that we're next going to vote on, Article 10, the department heads, they get the increase that's in the budget, as well as do they also get an increase for the raises for non-union town personnel?
To answer your question, Megan, yes, because the increases that were provided that are in the proposed and not in the default we already gave those increases out. And they are been paying we've been paying that salary for those employees. And so, yes, they are included in 10 as well.
So the town already started paying those increases, and then it's being put in the budget. So if the budget doesn't pass, then the town needs to figure out where to get that money, because they already started paying those increases.
We did it a year ago, so we've paid for it this year as well on a default budget. We did the increases in 19.
Okay.
So we paid for it out of 19s, we paid for it out of 20s. And it's different. They are entitled to the 3% pool in Article 10 as well.
Okay. Has the town ever thought about putting those increases, instead of putting it in the budget, putting in a warrant article, or they won't do that?
If they put it in a warrant article, it's going to be defeated. And we had this big discussion last year with Benji's raise, and they decided to keep it in the budget. And that's one of the reasons why the budget was defeated.
Neil, I remember that discussion. I'm just asking again.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, like that Benji's come up the last three years. Let's be clear here. Benji's raise.
Yeah.
And no means known was part of the discussion as well. I don't remember when.
No, Tom, I know. And that's why I was trying not to pick on Benji.
We love Benji.
That figure wasn't Benji's.
Because he's on.
I know he is.
We all love Benji inside, believe me.
The issue isn't the raise. They're all reasonable raises. The issue is the process. The town traditionally has had these as separate warrant articles when we're doing things like this. And when the selectmen changed that, people's hackles were raised. These people deserve the money. That's not the issue.
But what, and I'll discuss this, and we did last year, but not at the table, but through various other means. And that simply isn't true. I can't recall any time was an individual raise put on as a separate warrant article, with the exception of a long time ago when the town clerk put a raise on. And I don't know if that passed or not, but it simply, that simply is not what's been done. The raise articles are group articles for union or non-union employees, but there's never been in my history, and it goes back quite a ways, an individual, let's give the so-and-so a raise as a separate warrant article.
There was way back when we used to have a budget review committee. And I remember when Paul Perkins was a trustee, the library was hugely underpaid. And so we had a budget review process, and somebody from the committee and somebody from the LGC came in and they put it on a warrant article. It was an adjustment. It wasn't a raise, because we were on a scale of typists and clerks, and they put it into a new category, and it was on the warrant. That was like 2000 when they did that. It isn't a usual thing.
I don't think, Tom, I don't think it's not, I totally understand what everybody's saying with Neil and everyone else. I totally get it. Usually I'm the hit of every parade. So, but I'm contracted and I understand that. But at the same time, I think the selectmen have the right to issue raises, because I think this discussion also came up at deliberative session maybe a year or two ago, that maybe we should look at every position, because, Benji went for his guys to try to bring him up to save him. I just hate us being in the townspeople did it for the police department last year. The first step was a 6.39% for them so that we stopped the turnover. So when other towns are paying to drive 20 minutes, a lot more money, I think that, I think the selectmen do what they can to keep the skilled help that we have. And I don't think it's wrong. It may not be a popular vote, but I believe when we asked about doing a study, it was realized that, oh my God, it could cost us a lot more if we did a study. And that's all it is. I mean, just trying to keep the good help that we have, and that's where we are.
So I'd like to thank you, Naomi. I'd like to, kind of make a comment on Neil's comment about why the budget didn't pass. Although I don't completely agree with that, I do agree with Neil's perspective, and that is, for the folks that were here last year, there was a 40% pay increase. It's the only thing that I spoke out about on a major concern, a 40% pay increase for the library director. Now, whether he deserved it or not, that's not for me to say, but it was so profound, and the fact that it wasn't addressed and called out is what left a sour taste in my mouth as a taxpayer. And I believe maybe some other people. Do I think people voted on the budget because of that? Well, hopefully it's not one thing, but to Neil's point, that's something worth talking about. But on the other hand, to talk to both sides, we elect our selectmen, and they're the ones making these decisions. So I don't know that we should be telling them, other than suggestions, how to do their job when we can just vote them out and replace them. So I don't think necessarily our debate is about how they should be doing it. I think it's about, do we agree with the way it's structured in this budget this year, much like last year?
Tom, I agree with you. And I remember that discussion, and I was quite shocked to learn about the way they handled the library director, because again, they had not presented that to us. And it was substantial at a time when the town, the selectmen, had cut a lot of things. And they kind of did it again this year by sticking in it's a 9-hour position. That's going to be $63 with what they pay. But I think it's the principle of the town doing one thing and the library doing another thing. And there have been earnest efforts made to prepare these budgets. And I think next year, the committee needs to see all the budgets, because I agree with you. I think that was hard for the townspeople to take.
And thank you, Chris. And just kind of, I'm asking the committee for kind of some feedback on this, but I was under the impression that the select persons have oversight as to what the library puts in their budget, which ends up in this warrant. And the response I got, because I was actually at a selectman meeting when I brought this up originally, and I really heard crickets, and I wasn't sure whether or not they own the library just makes the budget and the selectmen have to live with it, or the selectmen have the ability to say, no, we're not going to accept that. And I'm wondering if one of our veteran folks here could explain to me what the case is.
Yeah, well, since I made library budgets for years, here's the statute. It says, first of all, the library has independent money. It has trust funds. So no Board of Selectmen can reduce the bottom line of a library budget by the amount in a trust fund. So if the library presents a budget to be raised by taxation, the selectmen can comment on it, and they're afraid to a lot of the time. They think the library is untouchable. But in a place where everyone works together in good faith, they can say, you know, let's look at line whatever. Let's see if we can bring it down a little bit. How are you compensating for these increases? That's a legitimate process that goes on in a lot of towns. The only protection the library has is that sometimes selectmen wanted to cut budgets way back because somebody died and in their will that gave the library some money. Can't do that.
We had a situation one year where that we had to take $100,000 out of the bottom line in order to make an adjustment, actually to satisfy the Finance Committee. And we did it equally, and including the library, and we found that legally, as long as it wasn't biased toward one department, that there could be an equal percentage from the library budget. But other than that, it's always been the library puts in one lump sum and it stays that way. That's their budget.
Tom, Dennis Auden?
Yeah.
Can we just respectfully try and get back to looking at this budget and try and move that along?
Yeah, I appreciate
respectfully.
Yeah, no. Thank you, Dennis. And
And I appreciate the comments. Obviously, you know, we could talk about many different things in the past. This is the budget we're looking at right now, and we can certainly make notes as to how we feel the town should address those budget needs in the future.
Yeah, thank you for that, Dennis. I think we did maybe let that go a little too far, and that's fine. But I think that the conversation was appropriate around there are increases in salaries in this budget. So thank you for all the comments.
Question.
Hi.
This is Nicole. So I agree with Bill, and as a taxpayer, I have opinions on the different articles for specific reasons, but what I'm having trouble getting over as a taxpayer, and I would like some guidance on this, is if you take into account the Ware school district budgets, whichever one, and how already that's affecting the taxes, I'm having trouble like incorporating then the town things, the town articles, whereas normally I'd be like, yes, for X, but because of that Ware school district and the budget impact on taxes, I might not say yes. So is there some guidance on that?
I think, this is Neil, I think that Megan's spreadsheet, which I hope she's going to update and send to us, was very helpful in giving you a picture of what each of the articles does to the total tax rate. One of the things that the committee has always done in the past, and Tom said we're going to do it again, is that we vote on articles, and then at the end, we look at what we've done, and Megan or someone will say, you guys have created a tax rate of X with all of your votes. At that point, you can go back and say, you know, I voted in favor of the town budget, and I'd like to go back and have another vote on that because I don't believe that taxpayers should have to pay whatever the rate turned out to be. So there is a way to do that, but your basic question is a good one. If you think that we're spending too much money by what we've already done, then you obviously have to vote against some of these articles. If you think the taxpayers can afford more, then you vote in favor of some of these articles. Your choice.
To answer Neil's question, the spreadsheet that I did is still out there. I updated it. So everything should be good now. I'm going to email it to everyone again, just so you don't have to search for the link. I meant to do it earlier today and just didn't have time.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you. That helps.
Yeah,
Nice job, Megan, on that too. Really appreciate the work, Dennis.
You're welcome. I think I figured out John Stark's budget. It took me a little bit, but I think we have the tax rates and everything good now.
I have a comment in regards to, I know we're talking generally the town budget and then the individual articles. I have a very similar feeling, which is I would like to look at the impact as a whole. And I think Bill, and I think it was Bill, if I remember correctly, had said, you know, what's the priority? What's the stuff that's more important? I think maybe we take a look at that too, but revisiting an article, we would definitely be open to doing that. That's what we did last year, and that's fine. So I'm kind of curious at this point, because I'll be honest, I'm very much on the fence on this town budget myself. And I'd like to get a feel for what the other folks, thoughts are on it.
I seconded it because I believe that it's a budget that's reasonable. The difference between the default and the proposed is 17 cents. It's not $1.17. It's 17 cents difference between the two. And so I support it. That's my opinion.
Tom, if I could I'll just throw in one of Neil's comments from last week. As Everett Dirksen said, we get to real money when we start adding them all up.
Yes, that's a good point.
That's true. And might come back to this. Who knows?
Yeah.
Tom, would it be appropriate? Beth and I have been working back and forth for your answers for Neil versus trying to get back to you guys.
If you have answers do you have answers to questions in regards to this budget, or the outside?
Well, Neil had asked about the increases for the 3 officers and the chief that we asked about. Beth and I have been back and forth, and I can give you those now if you'd like them. It's in the proposed, not in the default.
Sure.
Okay, so we issued a increase to 2 police officers. Both of them were 3%, which was Averill and Lewis. Do you need to know their amounts? I can distribute them. So Averill was 1,800.
Not individually, is it? Well, anyway.
Well, it's individual on this piece of paper. So
okay.
1,810 is Averill, which is 3%. Paul Lewis, the officer that was shot, was 3%. His is 1,809. Chief Moore was 2% for $1,497. Officer Mike Muse went from an officer to a corporal position. He got $14,757, or represents 27%. That's those. If you add the 4 of them together, they're in the proposed wages and not in the default wages.
Thank you. And what about the other positions?
Those are the only ones that were. The others were hired on the scale.
No. I mean, the finance director. I
don't have those. I was looking at the police.
Okay.
I don't have them at the moment. She gave me the police ones.
It was finance director, public works director, and anybody else?
No, that would be those 2.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Neil, correct me if I'm wrong, but those would be in the line item in the budget, in the detailed budget, wouldn't
they? No, they're grouped by police salaries, so I don't think you could break it out.
No, I'm sorry. I meant the public works and finance director.
Yeah,
that's correct. They're out in there.
Yes.
So Neil, if you just want it for public record, I mean, the finance admin, what I see is $12,332. and the highway director is $7,282.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm just looking quickly to see if there was anything else, but those were the ones that I saw.
Yeah, those are the only two. We talked about them last year too.
Yep.
Yep.
So I guess is there any further discussion or debate on Article 9?
One more quick question. What's the number if it were yes on all town ones? On all town warrant articles? Do we have the tax impact on that? Just those?
Yes.
That is.
Sorry, I was muted. The town came up with 5.6, and that's the one thing I didn't go look back at to figure out why my calcs come to 5. I came with 5.58.
560 when you add up the numbers. So yeah, it's at 2 cents.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay.
560 is when you add that, when you do line item by line item, 462 down each warrant article is $5.60.
Okay.
Thank you.
So what was the 2 cents that, Bill?
I don't know what the 2 cents is. All I know is when I add the particular line items, 462 running down 7 cents, 7 cents, 1 cent, 4 cents, da 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 da. You come up with $5.60, not 558.
Yeah, I know. So I'm just gonna look at the spreadsheet quickly and figure out which one isn't pulling over or what's not working.
I got 560 also, Bill.
Yep.
Yeah, I know. You know.
For comparison, last year's was $4.79
Last year's was $4.79, Tom?
total. Yeah, that I just checked my tax bill for the town.
So I got a little lost in that. Can we go back to the original question about what the difference was? Nicole, I think Nicole had asked, what is the difference?
No, what if it was yes for all the town articles? What was the number? And then they were off by the 2 cents, which is probably rounding on the spreadsheet somewhere.
Tom, what was the 2019 town tax rate for?
2019?
Sorry, 2019.
2020, you mean, don't you? I was looking at.
Yes, 2020.
Yeah, the town tax was $4.79.
Okay, so
After we gave back the 350, right? Yes, that's reflective of that.
Yeah.
okay, so that's a 16.9% increase in the town budget compared the proposed budget versus the tax bill that people have just paid.
Uh-huh.
Again, we've got all these warrant articles to go through to see where we end up, because that was not the budget, it was the total for last year, that 479.
Right, and what I did was to use the total this year. Oh, I'm sorry, the total for this year is how much?
560 if everything is voted yes. $5.60. That's
what I used. 560 divided by 479 gives you 1.169. So it's 16.9% increase.
Oh, that's not right.
No.
I had it somewhere, and I had 16 cents, but I didn't have 16.9.
Well, if all of the articles, sorry. The figure that Tom gave us was all of the articles that passed last year on the town budget, on the town warrant, including the budget. Is that correct, Tom?
Yeah, I just took the town portion off my tax bill.
And that included the warrant articles.
That would have included anything that passed last year.
Right, and according to column K on Megan's spreadsheet, line 21, which is a total of the town budget plus all of the warrant articles. So we're comparing apples with apples. It's 560 or 558 divided by, or the difference divided by 479, which is a 16.9% increase.
Neil, I think the only difference is the 479 takes into effect the 350 that was put back into offset. So if we're really talking apples and apples, you could take the 560 and let's say you reduce it by about another maybe 35 cents at the or 30 cents at the 300,000 would be. So instead of
33.6.
Yeah, so if the difference is 81 cents and you take 33 cents off it, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. And
so that's 526.
So if it was 60, 70, 81, we're talking 48. Hang on, I'm going to give you a different number here.
9.8%.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I got.
And some of that is a carryover from the bonds and the raises and the blah, blah, blah that we had last year.
Okay, so I think we all agree that we're going to look at this as a whole. So I think we're ready to put this to a vote. No one object to that?
Sounds good to me. Okay.
So we'll go back to our warrant. So we are talking about warrant article number 9, town budget. And we're putting this to a vote right now. And we will start, according to Neil's recommendation, with, are you in favor of recommending article number 9? Megan.
No, I am not in favor.
Leah.
No.
Neil.
No.
Chris.
No.
Sorry. Tom.
Yes.
Gary, sorry, Gary's not here. James.
Yes, Gary's here.
Oh, Gary, you're here?
Yeah,
Oh.
I'm here. Yes.
James.
Yes.
Dennis.
No.
Tammy.
No.
Nicole.
This is a hard one.
It is.
I'm gonna say yes, with the right to look back at it after the
Just say unenthusiastically, and we know what you mean.
Well, yes, I'm saying yes.
Okay, Rachel.
Yes.
Sorry, Bill.
No.
Okay.
Can I change mine to unenthusiastically now?
Yeah, we'll have Leo note that. Lastly, I am a yay.
So what's the count? You're killing me.
Give her a minute. It's Leah. Leah's the one with the fast fingers.
7-6-0.
I'm just trying to make sure I got everybody because they're people kind of. Okay. So I'm going to review this just to make sure I have everything correct. Because I think I'm missing somebody. Oh, Rachel. I didn't get Rachel. I'm sorry, Rachel. What was yours?
Also an unenthusiastic yes.
Okay. So I'm going to review just to make sure I got them all right. Tom D, yes. Megan, no. Leah, no. Neil, no. Chris, no. Tom C, yes. James, yes. Dennis, no. Tammy, were you a yes or a no?
I was a no.
A no. Okay, that's where I got it wrong. Nicole, an unenthusiastic yes. Bill, no. Gary, yes. Rachel, yes. Do those sound correct?
Yes.
That's 6-6, I think.
No, 7-6, no.
6 yes, 7 no.
Yes, that's correct. 6 yes, 7 no.
Okay, so guess what we got to do? The motion's failed. So I don't have to make another motion again, right? We went through it.
No, we make a motion to not recommend.
So we have to make the motion. Okay.
So I so make the motion to not recommend.
I second the motion.
Okay, so we are voting to not recommend Article 9. If you answer yay, you do not recommend it. So let's start with Megan, to not recommend. Yay or nay?
Unenthusiastic, yay.
Leah.
Same unenthusiastic, yay.
Neil.
Yay.
Chris.
Yeah, a guilty yay.
Tom.
No.
Gary.
No.
James.
No.
Dennis.
Yes.
Tammy.
Yeah.
Nicole.
No.
Rachel.
No.
And Bill.
No. Yes, that's a yes on this one. Yeah.
And Tom Downing is a no. Okay, well, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
So the motion to not recommend passes 7-6, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so bullets for blurbs. Bill, are you still, you did a great job. Are you still up for?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
No, I'm good. I can fire them up. In fact, to be honest with you, I already wrote some up trying to guess how the votes would go. I won't tell you. This one I did not. This one I did not write up because I really didn't know. And look, and by the vote, I could tell why I didn't know.
Okay, so I guess for a reminder for everybody, what we decided last week is we were going to try and just at least come up with the minimum bullets of the drivers for the decision, and then Bill was going to take them off and write them. But if he's going to do it live, then.
Oh no, I'm not going to do it live. No,
okay.
No, I'm not like Matt was last year. I'm not.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So I would like to just say one thing before the conversation about the blurbs, and that is, I think what we decided last year collectively, and I'd be interested in doing the same, is if we had a split vote or a very close to 50-50 vote, that we had a fair representation of the drivers without writing a whole novel.
Okay.
The drivers on both sides.
Yeah. Okay.
Or, and I think the alternative, we had a couple we couldn't come to an agreement. I think we agreed to minimalize it, Bill, if I remember correctly. That worked out pretty good because we kind of came to, couldn't quite work it out. And then we just agreed to minimalize it. And the taxpayers get the point because we're a 7-6 vote. So I'm not saying we have to do it. I'm just saying it seemed to work out okay last year.
Okay. So if you had about a couple of quick bullets each way, just jump right in and I'll write them down. Make sure I incorporate them. Don't all speak at once.
Oh, I thought Tom was going in. I thought he was clearing his throat.
No, I have a cold.
Sorry.
I won't put that in the blurb.
So,
Nope.
Bill, I would say that the driver for me is the minimal percentage or impact. It is a small amount. Was it, how many cents was it?
17 cents between the two.
17 cents. And I look at 17 cents.
Okay.
And if we could find a way to say that it's a minimal increase or impact over the default, that was my driver.
All right.
My driver was the fact that there was a $300,000 surplus in 19, roughly a $300,000 surplus, $350,000 in 19, $300,000 in 20. There's more than enough money in the default budget to operate the town and still have money left over to offset future taxes.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I really think this is a prudent budget, but the articles that follow it are all, as I said before, safety articles. And if the townspeople are concerned about raising taxes, we have to pass articles that will keep our vehicles safe and keep our departments functioning. So it was hard for me to say no, but it's really a Hogan Dugan. What do we do? And yeah, the school is a huge driver. And we also have the state education rate that we have to pay because we are considered a wealthy town. So there's all these other things that we have to balance.
Okay, yeah. Is it safe? I think I kind of get the gist. It's safe to say that with the other reductions in revenue, that we are, maybe I go back to my first discussion when I said tread water, hold the line where it is. And to do that, we can't vote some things that we think are prudent in the proposed budget, you know, on the police side or the highway side or whatever, guardrail. I don't want to belabor specific line items, but we just hold where we are. We're still going to have a sizable increase in taxes because of potential reduced revenues. So in this case, we went with a default. And is it fair to say, Naomi, that if we get additional revenues, CARES funding, that those could help support the default budget? Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I mean, I hope we can do things in 2021. You know, I'm still not a believer that this whole crap is over. And I don't know what Sununu, I mean, they're handing out money like, I won't say what I'm thinking, but you know what I mean? People are getting funds and they're helping. I get it, but I don't know. It's just January. I don't know what else. I can't tell you what's going to happen.
No, I know that.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, you would think our revenues are off. We had as much money come in on the town clerk registrations that we've ever had. Yeah. Our tax people are paying their taxes. So I don't know. I haven't really been able to put my thumb on when we talk about people hurting. I guess we haven't seen that yet. Not that I want anybody to hurt. I just don't think we've seen it like maybe other states and other communities have.
Well, we can look at a breakout by occupation because we know what occupations are really taking the worst hit. But middle class savings are the highest they've been since before 2000.
Hey, so I'm going to think that we should probably table this.
Yes, thank you.
I think I got enough, Tom. I think I got enough to come up with something. I'll send it around tomorrow have them out by noontime tomorrow.
You're a machine.
Yep. I got enough.
All right. Thank you.
Article 10.
And here we go. I'm going to blow this up for you all. Here we go. All right. So we're looking at Article 10. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $59,953 to be used for raises for non-union town and library personnel? If approved, this addition would become part of the annual budget. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen, tax impact of 7 cents.
Make a motion to recommend.
Second.
Debate and discussion and debate, Article 10.
I can't support this. Maybe 2%, maybe 1%. Folks on Social Security are getting well less than 2%. As I told you before, my raise was 1.1%. There are approximately 436 people in the town of Ware who lost their jobs. That's a significant proportion of the households, like 14 or 15% of the households in Ware had somebody who lost a job. I understand what Naomi said, that they're not seeing it in the tax rate, in the tax payments, and they're apparently not seeing it in terms of the food pantry. But those are the statistics. And I think at this time, especially considering the uncertainty, and as Naomi just said, it could very well last for half of this year, or maybe 3/4 of this year. I think it's not prudent to ask people who perhaps are not getting wage increases to pay increases for other folks in town.
Neil, could you just, I didn't quite hear, what was the number, the total number you had stated?
There were 63,000 jobs that were lost in the state of New Hampshire, according to the Carsey Institute, during the first 11 months through November of 2020. Where share of that, assuming that we are losing jobs in the same proportion as everyone else, and people could make other assumptions, we lost 436 jobs. In a population of roughly 9,000, if you assume a household has 3 people in it, that's 3,000 households. 436 divided by 3,000 is roughly 14%.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear the 4 number. That's why I was asking for clarification. But
Sure.
I don't. And one other point of clarification. I don't want to split hairs, but don't we have like 2,200 households?
We send out 4,796 tax bills.
Wow. Okay then, Neil. So the number's different then.
I'll do it. How many tax bills do you send out?
In December, we sent out 4,796 tax bills.
That's households.
No, that includes
some of those are businesses.
Businesses too.
Yeah, some of those could be.
But it's
just for
land. It's land only. It's tax. It's pieces.
Oh, okay. So then I didn't mean to open this can of worms. I was just talking about households. I was just curious on Neil's number.
No, and I just think may I speak on Article 10 just briefly? Just so Article 10 represents 98 employees and 70.3% of those employees.
Mr. Chairman, this is a Finance Committee meeting, and Naomi is a town employee who is not answering a question, but making an argument in favor or providing information to us that hasn't been asked for. I didn't think that was the format we were using in this meeting.
It was asked at the public hearing for those of you who didn't attend. That's all I was saying.
Naomi, I have to agree with Neil as far as procedure. If someone asks you the question, I mean, appreciate the information, but procedurally he is correct.
Well, I'm asking the question. I'd like to know what Naomi has to say.
Well, there you go. So I was going to ask anyway. So Naomi, please. So it was 98 employees. I know that because I know that this came up.
Yeah, and 70.3% of them are first responders.
And what was that? How many percent? I'm sorry.
70.3% are first responders in the pool.
So 69 or 70 of them.
A good share of them are first responders.
Yeah, it was also mentioned, Benji mentioned, as an aside, he's in a 2-paycheck family, and the person who is working needs a raise because sometimes the person who is not working had their hours cut. So, you know, it still does help people.
But that doesn't help the taxpayer who lost one income and is paying more.
Well, you know, and I don't really know the demographic. I don't know who's working from home and got a raise. I mean, we just don't know a lot of stuff right now.
I'm just saying that cuts both ways, I think, what you said.
Well,
go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. Sorry, Bill, you're still talking.
I don't support this article. I have in past years when the raises have been 3%, but there was one year in 2018 when the percentage raise was actually reduced to 2% at the behest of the Finance Committee, back and forth with the town saying, gee, I don't know if this is a bad year with other costs, but that wasn't done this year. It's still 3%. And the cost of living allowance that goes into Social Security checks is 1.3%. So that's why I don't support it, because of the percentage in a year when we're dealing with COVID and so many impacts on other families and taxpayers' households. The other thing I want to point out with this, and it was stated by a lot of the people getting a raise would be first responders. Look at the estimated tax impact this year for this article. It's 7 cents. If you went back and you looked at 2017 and 2018 and 2019, it starts out about 3 cents, 4 cents. This This is going up. It's like compound interest. When we establish firefighter EMT positions, which I supported in the past, and some other, raises along the way, when you go 3% on top of a salary and then another 3%, suddenly we're up to this article is the price of a police cruiser, where it wasn't in the past. And I think it would have been nice this year if the town had looked at it and said, yeah, those overall costs and that tax impact is going up. And in a year of COVID, we got to reduce it and cut it down to like 1.5% or maybe 2% in recognition of the COVID impacts on the taxpayers. So I can't support it.
I was in another meeting today where they were talking about COLAs. It isn't directly related to wages with Southern New Hampshire Planning. We had a presentation by DOT and the projects that they're planning. And as they move ahead for the next 3 years, they're looking at a roughly 2.8% COLA increase in their contracts. Now, that's not directly related to everybody's wages here, but it is another estimate of the COLA over the next, I think they were looking at a 3-year period.
Well, I'm going to make a comment to where, along the same lines, I think Benji was the one that made the comment that I think people are using COVID a lot as an excuse to kick the can down the road. I think people are, you can snicker all you want, but I think that people are, most people are in a better position, or at least a more stable position that you give them credit for. I hear a lot of people saying, it's best for the taxpayer, and then they throw in, but my Social Security was only 1%. That's not what's best for the taxpayer. That's what's best for you. And I think we have to look at everybody overall, and the world does go on, whether things happen or not. And I think that if we continue to undercut, we're going to end up in the same position or a worse position when we have to double in the next year's budget or the budget year after that to maintain.
I would like to put in, we voted for the teachers' contract extension, which would increase them, and we're pretending those are first responders. Here's an article that actually pays first responders. And I think it would be hypocritical to say no on this one and yes on the other.
I agree. This is Nicole.
Well, we could always go back and say no on the others.
I would not be against that.
That was
no.
That was just a tongue in cheek. Don't take me serious.
No.
This is Megan. Sorry, James, did you have something else to say?
No, I'm finished. Thank you.
Okay. I'm struggling with this one because I agree that 70% of them are first responders and they do deserve a raise. However, town's reasoning on giving them 3% to make them in line with the police department's raise that the town voted in to help them recruit qualified candidates, I'm struggling with that. If it was 2%, I think I'd enthusiastically be like, yes, it's the 3% that I'm struggling with, especially as I know many friends in the town that they may still have their jobs, but they didn't get raises, or they normally get a bonus and that didn't come. And, we all know that when a bonus is part of your salary, then you kind of count on that. Maybe we shouldn't, but that is part of what we count on. So I'm struggling with it.
No, I understand that because with the police department being a union, there's a contract and there's certain things that happen with the contract, 3% increase being one of them. To say that this makes it fair, I don't think it's not a question of fairness. There is no contract. There is no collective bargaining for these folks. Now that said, I don't want the rest of everybody to become unionized either. And so it makes sense to provide something that will keep that from happening. So so to answer Megan, I'm kind of struggling on this one as well. But in general, I'm not in favor of it. I'm looking for somebody to change my mind, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
Just a comment, following up on what Bill said, as far as the increase of the tax impact. I mean, that's going to happen as we bring on more full-time employees, which is what Bill was getting at. And those full-time employees are related to safety in most cases. So, but not all cases, but in some cases. So, that tax impact is going to increase here as we change as a town and offer more. Again, just from perspective of why the tax increase impact increases.
I just wanted to add is, as much as I really don't think it's necessary for every person to say, I love it, I don't love it, I think these are very valuable people, and this is a very modest increase in my mind. So that's my 2 cents.
Comment. This is Nicole. Neil's argument, this has been bothering me, and I can't quite put my finger on why it's apples to oranges rather than apples to apples with, say, a 3% cost of living increase versus Social Security 1.3%. I don't think we're supposed to be comparing workers to retirees, because I don't see like retirement plans, unless they're specific kinds that you include the cost of living increase, that you don't compare the two. That's not, they're not the same. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm in favor of this for the same reason I voted yes for the teachers.
Nicole, the reason for using the comparison was not to suggest anything about the percentage increase, but just to say that there are many people in town who are only getting a 1.3% increase in their pay, their Social Security check, and you're asking them to use that to give somebody else a 3% increase. And it's difficult for them to do that. That was the point I was making.
Okay, but wouldn't it always be like that, regardless?
Yes.
Yes, and that's why the Social Security increase is generally equal to the cost of living, however that's calculated. So if in fact you were to say, let's give these folks a 1.3% increase, I would support it.
Yeah, but that's what the basis is for Social Security, which is not the same criteria for workers. So that's where I'm seeing the disconnect, but that's fine.
Well, it's also not what the stock market has been doing. So there are people with that also. And I think it also depends on how much land you own. Obviously, someone with a lot more land is going to scream and yell and say, oh, this tax rate is horrible. But if you have a 2-acre house, it's a little bit different. And the consumer price index is really a more realistic figure than the Social Security raises, because for our taxpayers, the consumer price index is what it costs to live in New England. And our workers need to be able to, be paid comparatively good wages.
I suggest we call for a vote.
Second.
I was going to make a comment, but Tom's suggestion talked me out of it. So
well, that's okay. I wasn't trying to shut people off, but we've
no. I was
heard a lot of different opinions.
I was waiting for everybody to finish, but I actually agree with a lot of the points that were made. So I'm going to leave it at that. And let's put this to the vote. So it is to recommend Article number 10. We will start with Megan. Megan, you here?
Yeah, I'm here. I was thinking. Sorry. I am going to vote to recommend.
Okay. Leah?
Yes.
Neil?
No.
Chris?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
James?
No.
Dennis? Dennis?
No.
Thank you. Tammy?
Yeah.
Nicole?
Yes.
Rachel? Rachel?
Sorry, mute. Yes.
Bill?
No.
And Tom is a yes. Tom Downing.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9 yeses, 4 no's.
Correct.
That's what I got as well.
Yep.
Okay, so vote, article passes, well, to recommend, excuse me. As far as blurbs go, well, since since Bill didn't recommend, let me just try and give him some insight. I think that I think the folks kind of made the point, which is the index. I mean, Chris, if you want to use a reference to that, maybe that might be appropriate. It's more consistent with consumer index. You know, for me, Bill, I'd say if you can make it a point to continue to support our town workers and employing or retaining quality employees.
Yep, got it.
I think we should also mention that, you know, of the 98 employees that this is impacting, over 70, or we could put 70.3 of them are first responders.
Yeah, I do have that. I think that's the most important point is,
yeah.
is where there's, some people may see, hey, how come they get %? But when you put the emphasis on the first responders, I think that should be the focus of our reasoning.
Yeah, Bill, use your judgment. If you think put that's first. Yeah,
I mean, I think that's a big. We want to recognize the first responders, and support our town employees, especially first responder. And not to slight the guys that are plowing tonight. Who are also very important when you go to get out of your driveway in the morning.
Any other input for Bill?
Just that a lot of these are repeat articles from last year, and if you get stuck, you can reference which you said you already have those at home anyway. So,
yeah, I even tried to get cute, Tom, and I went back, say, 3 or 4 years and pulled out some of the wording on some of the articles that usually go that way, so it didn't look like they came from last year.
Hey, what the heck? I doubt very many people are going to pull out their old.
Yeah.
Oh, you look at that.
Yeah. Okay.
I got mine right here.
All right. All right. Get late. Do we moving on to the next?
Yep.
Yep.
With all respect. Thanks, Bill. So Article 11, shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $99,291 to hire 2 full-time firefighter slash EMTs. This represents the wages and taxes and benefits for 6 months and certain one-time expenses. If approved, the fire department operating budget will be reduced by $37,783. And this addition would become part of the annual operating budget with an estimated annual cost of $182,557. And this is recommended by the Board of Selectmen with a tax impact of 7 cents. Motion?
I move to recommend.
Seconded.
Debate and discussion.
I can open it again. You want?
Well, I'm trying to be last. I think that Neil said that that's process. So,
okay, real quick. In past years, I have supported this for the 2, and then last year I wasn't on the board, but I did support it when I went into the voting booth. And we have 4 of on track towards the 8 that Chief Asena has recommended. I know when he presented this. I asked him like the impact, so where we're at now in staffing. And I view this as one where I say pause on this article. It has a big tax impact in a year when we've got these others. And when I say pause, I think getting to the 8 is where we want to be. And it affords him right now, if he got 2 this year, I think the main plus would be relief in scheduling and being able to ensure that he had people that work for us full time and he can schedule it. Right now, it's more a scheduling issue. I think he's got full, and he has to get part-timers, and that's very difficult in a COVID year. But as we get through to the summer and beyond, I'm thinking that it's going to be easier with COVID. So I just think with the other things that we have coming down the line, the next couple here on maintaining equipment and cruisers, plow trucks, this is a good one to pause on because it's very expensive. It says you're looking at a 7-cent increase, but that's only for half a year. And this is a one that piles on next year with like a double the impact for a full 12 months. So I like it. I like the program the chief has got us on. I supported it, but I think it's a pause year, and I'll leave it at that.
I support it because time is everything when it comes to an emergency response. And I am sitting here today as proof of that, because when I needed help desperately, they were there almost within minutes and got me over to the Concord Hospital, where I was taken care of, lots of stents involved. But and one of the things that the surgeon said was, you know, you have no long-term damage to your heart because they got you here so quickly. And to take the opposite of that, I have a friend who's a lady whose husband died of a heart attack. And again, it was a timing thing, because it was when we were on a shift change from the daytime crew who was there going to the on-call, and he had the misfortune of having his heart attack at about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The time was not on his side. So, you know, I understand what Bill's saying as far as pausing it and picking up again next year on it, but you know, lots of things are going to happen in that 1 year period, because right now we're only we're going to still have the scheduling problem when you're working with part-timers from other departments who don't want to come in on a given day because they can get overtime in their own department, or for other reasons just call in and we'll take it. We have full-time employees, they're going to be there. And time is of the essence. And that's why I am 100% in support of this article.
So I'll just jump in with one comment. I'd like to pause on maybe some other articles, but not this one. I mean, the safety of the first responders, we all signed on, you know, I signed on from the beginning about voting these on board, and I'm going to keep consistent with that and support it. I think it's some other areas where we should consider, and other articles maybe pausing. I like the Bill's point. It's very polite to say pausing and appropriate.
Comment. This is Nicole. I'm in agreement with this. I remember the presentation last year and this year. Last year, the issue was the part-time employees coming from other places, but then this year it was more serious because of COVID, that the part-time people are not coming over because they work full-time elsewhere, and because of COVID, you can't be, the risk and exposure and such. So my suggestion would be to pause this a year from now. So say yes now. And if you want to take that pause, do that later, not now, not during COVID specifically.
Excuse me.
This is Tammy. I also support this. I think that in keeping with our support of the first responders, I think it only makes sense to support the fire department during a time where they're really needed.
Are there any other comments on this?
Yeah, I think because of COVID, more people are home. A lot of people, especially elderly, are home sheltering in place. And so statistically, more medical needs are going to come up this year.
Well, I think we've seen that in this past year, on average, with our senior citizens having to stay home a little bit more. They're less out and about, having less interaction. And people in general having additional health and mental health issues, being stuck at home. I think this is one of those articles that is necessary for us.
This is Megan. I agree. I was actually thinking the same way that Nicole was thinking, that, you know, this is the year that we say yes and we get to that halfway point, and then next year we decide if it's the year that we take a pause to possibly approve some things that this year we don't.
Any other comments? Okay, so we're going to put this to a vote. Article 11 to recommend. And we will start with, I wanted to go backwards, Leah, but I figured that would mess you up, what you've been doing. But
Yeah,
so
don't do that. Don't do that.
We're going to start with Megan.
All right, I vote yes to recommend.
Leah?
Yes.
Neil?
No.
Chris?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Dennis?
No.
Tammy?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
Rachel?
Yes.
Bill?
No.
And Tom Downing is a yes.
So 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 yeses. 1, 2, 3, 3 no's.
Well, that's the whole group. So this passes to recommend. All right. So Bill, I'll kind of help you out right from the start. I think that even if you look at last year's, we talk about consistency and sticking with the original plan to bring on 2 firefighters per year.
Okay.
I mean, it's safety. I mean, I know the other people mentioned safety in a COVID year, but you know, for me, it's about that's the plan. That's what we made moving forward.
Yeah, keeping the plan on track.
Yeah, and safety, right? So.
Got it.
Anybody else have any more comments, or are we good on this one? Okay. Yeah, last year should help on that too anyway. So we're going to go to Article 12. And I just need a motion.
You might want to read it first.
Oh, Jesus. It's not even 10 o'clock. Thanks, Neil. Wow.
Tom, do you want me to read this one?
Wow, you think I'm losing it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, have at it.
All right, we got Article 12. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $5,382 for the cost of increasing the hourly wages for the employees of Chase Park within the Parks and Recreation Department? This represents the wages and payroll taxes affiliated. If this warrant article is approved, this would become part of the annual operating budget recommended by Board of Selectmen.
Now, can we have a motion?
Make a motion to recommend.
Second.
All right, so we're open for discussion and debate. I'm just going to make a quick comment on this because I have teenage kids and they work. One started when they're 15. And I think this is kind of a no-brainer. I mean, the town pretty much wants Chase Park. I see a lot of people on the boards talking about it, the popularity and kicking out of people from out of town and charging them more. It's important to the taxpayers, and this is such a small amount. And I know what it costs and what other places pay. And whether you can go to Market Basket or you go to McDonald's, it's way more than what we're paying people there. I think it's appropriate.
Yeah, when it was told to us, that this is also a retention issue because they need older teenagers to kind of manage situations. They had some very young teenagers because they were paying low, but they wanted to keep them as they got older because there are things that come up that need somebody with a little bit more experience. That was their rationale.
Also, for this last summer, they were unable to find anybody for lifeguards. So I believe they had to go the whole summer without lifeguards on duty. Whether it was the amount being paid or not, I'm not sure, but I do know that was a concern when I heard it in my mind.
No, Tom, you're absolutely correct. There was an issue with being able to find lifeguards.
Yeah. To me, I think we need lifeguards there, period.
Any other comment?
Move to vote.
Can I just add that it's a $2.50 increase for a $250,000 house?
Thanks, Megan.
You're welcome.
So we're going to put this to vote. Thank you, Nicole. So we're voting to recommend Article number 12. And we will start with Megan.
Yes, I vote to recommend.
Leah?
Yes, sorry.
Neil?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Dennis?
No.
Tammy?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
Rachel?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
And Tom Downing is a yes. This pass. We vote to recommend 11-2. I think this is an easy one, right, Leah?
11.
I'm sorry.
No, it was 12-1.
12-1. Not so easy then.
Yeah.
I got enough for the bullets.
Moving on. Unless someone feels strongly or differently. Article 13. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $36,400, representing the cost of turning the part-time building inspector into a full-time employee? This would represent the wages and benefits for 9 months. If this warrant article is approved, this would become part of the annual operating budget with an annual cost of an additional $42,479.
Make the motion to recommend.
Second.
Who wants to go?
I think this article could make us some money if the building inspector puts all the information in. We can tax their chicken houses and whatnot.
I don't know if that was a joke, but there's probably some truth to that.
Oh yeah, I heard of somebody that burned down his chicken house because he didn't want to pay the taxes.
I think this is clearly a pause article.
That's what I thought as well. Only because there's been increases this year in the demands on the building inspector, I think, is what I had heard at earlier meetings with the people doing home projects because they're stuck in a house and it requires the building inspector to come out and check out the work as well as, and we're always going to have some semblance of new construction. But I said, maybe as we get through COVID, see what the true impacts are really going to be in the long term on this. And we've got so many other safety and articles we're treading water on that, yeah, I'll use the pause, but I'll leave it at that.
Question: why did they choose 9 months rather than 6 to write the article. Is there a reason behind that?
We can ask Naomi that, I guess.
Sure. Right now, we have somebody in it that's part-time that we would just bring on to full-time. So the vote takes place in March. It would just elevate him to a full-time, which is how we were figuring, you know, the benefits based on the gentleman that we have now.
Thank you, Naomi.
Thank you.
I have a comment. I'm kind of on the fence about this one, but I did witness some selectmen meetings where contractors were talking about the inability to even move projects forward for weeks at a time because of a lack of resources to support permits. And I have a background because of family members in general construction, and there is a legitimate problem. But I'm torn on this one because of, the desire to pause. And I'm curious if I'm the only one that saw this or has heard about this problem in town. Is it bigger or not as big as it seems to be?
Well, I think some of this goes to the need to borrow resources from other towns, specifically Goffstown. Naomi, what's the term we use? The reciprocity between the two towns?
We have a mutual aid agreement with Goffstown.
All right, thank you. And so whenever we don't have somebody available, we often will draw upon Goffstown and other towns for other resources. We've run into the past where with other things like our fire and rescue, we were demanding a lot from other towns. I don't think we want to get into that situation again. And yeah, this is certainly not at the same level as fire and rescue having to have other towns saying we're not going to help you anymore. But it still makes us indebted to other towns if we don't have the resources ourselves.
Any other input or comments on this? So I'll give a second for mute, but otherwise we're going to go to a vote. Okay, so we're voting on whether to recommend Article 13, and we will start the vote with Megan. Megan? Is she still with us?
I'm still here. I didn't realize I was on mute. I was doing one quick calc, but it took me a second to.
So we're voting.
I'm gonna vote not to recommend.
Okay. Leah?
No.
Neil?
No.
Chris?
Yes.
Tom? C?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
James?
Yes. Unenthusiastically.
Sorry, Dennis?
No.
Tammy?
Yeah.
Nicole?
No.
Rachel?
Yes.
Bill?
No.
Tom Downing is a reluctant yes.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 no's, 7 yeses.
Sure.
Wait a minute, hold on. 1, 2.
The other way.
No, that's what I have 7-6 as well.
Yes, I agree.
7-6, no or yes? 7.
No, 7-6 yes. 7 yes, 6 no.
Oh, okay. I thought I had it the other way. Maybe I'm wrong.
So
I'm gonna recount.
Okay, so we voted to recommend, correct?
5.
You want to have
yes.
Leah read off who she has for yeses? And
Yeah, let's do that, please.
Okay. So Megan, no. Leah, no. Neil, no. Chris, yes. Tom C, yes. Gary, yes. James, yes. Dennis, no. Tammy, yes. Nicole, no. Rachel, yes. Bill, no. Tom D, yes.
Sounds right. So we go to blurb.
Okay, we got to put both sides of this one, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I think the 4 is, the importance of having buildings inspected and properly. And I know that there is a little bit of a vacuum, or if you will, the need today. No guarantee that that's going to go away. And frankly, I'm not sure why we went to part-time anyway. I wouldn't put that in there. I'm just saying most towns have a full-time building inspector, I believe.
And this could bring in revenue if more buildings are inspected and reported to the town.
Yeah. Let's obviously try and keep it short. And Bill, you have a counter argument.
Yeah, pause.
Yeah, pause,
Yeah. Just write something about wanting to pause to the following year or something.
Yeah, I got it. I can say pause, and once dust clears, the storm clouds clear from COVID, you kind of look at what's going to be the impact. Is some of that impact caused by what we're dealing with COVID and more stuff going on in the houses. And yeah, I got it.
And obviously the taxpayers will get the point with a 7-6 vote.
Sure. No, I got that. I got it.
Just a brief explanation. The question was asked, why would we ever have a part-time building inspector? And it's what happens sometimes when the town tries to save money, and it goes all the way back to when Naomi became town administrator, and we lumped the responsibilities of land use and building inspector all under one roof, and then found it was too much. And so now we're separating it again, and we ended up with this part-time, where they were full-time both before, going back a few years.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay.
So we're going to move to 14. So shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $20,000 with said funds to come from the fire department equipment and vehicle special reserve fund for the purposes of replacing fire apparatus pump components. This special warrant article is a non-lapsing appropriation per RSA 32(7), what is that, Roman numeral? 6, thank you, and will not lapse until the replacement is completed on or by December 31st, 2026. Been looking for a motion to recommend.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
Thank you, James. So we're up for discussion and debate. So this is a zero impact, but I know that there are folks concerns about stuff coming out of the revenue fund. The way it was explained, this is a piece of equipment that is said to fail at some point. It wasn't clear as to when that would be, but it seems like there's no tax impact. We need to keep our equipment up to date. I'd support it. It doesn't make sense to me why I wouldn't.
Agreed. There's plenty of money in the fund. 275,000 the end of December, and they take in over 150,000 in ambulance fees every year. So we got an ambulance and a fire truck coming up in, I think, 2023, 2026 about, and there should be sufficient funds in there for those. So I think it's a no-brainer.
Any other comments? We're gonna go to a vote. I'll give it one more minute here. So mute.
Hold on just 1 second. Let me catch up here for a second. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so we are voting on whether to recommend Article 14. And we're going to start the voting with Megan.
I vote to recommend.
Yes.
Was that Leah?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Neil?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Excuse me. Tom?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Dennis?
Abstain.
Okay, sorry. Tammy?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
Rachel?
Yes.
And Bill?
Yes.
So I'm a yes. So,
So that's 12 yeses and 1 abstention.
okay. So we agree to recommend. We will go to Bill, do you need anything on this? I mean, I think we kind of just said it, right?
Yeah, I got that one.
All right, fair enough.
I got it written up already.
There you go, of course. This is the fun one, Article 15. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $61,000 for the purpose of one fully equipped frontline police cruiser? Tax impact is 7 cents.
Make a motion to recommend.
Second.
Thank you, James and Gary. And discussion or debate?
I thought it wasn't fully equipped.
Oh God, Megan! I knew someone was going to start.
No,
okay.
No, because it's fully equipped is 67,000.
Megan, point of order, Megan.
You want me to call point of order?
No, I'm calling point of order on you.
On me?
Because we're not gonna. Was that you and Nicole? I'm sorry, Nicole.
It was Nicole. I was like,
Nicole.
why are you calling point of order on me?
Sorry, Nicole. Yeah, it's funny and all, but I don't. We did this last year. Let's not debate about.
No. What I'm talking about is I thought in our meeting he asked them to change the wording.
The chief said he didn't like it, but the discussion was had. If the selectmen didn't change it, then we're voting on the way it's written.
And that's fine. It's just that it's 61,000, not 67 or whatever the number was.
Oh, isn't it? I'm sorry. Did I say 67?
No, it's 61.
Where did it? And why? What's the 67,000 you're referring to?
That's what the chief said. A fully equipped frontline police.
Oh, okay. So for the folks that didn't listen to or maybe didn't, so maybe it is a good point to share, Nicole. Thank you. There was a question for clarification that continually comes up about fully equipped vehicles, and there's no way to slice up radios into fractions because they're placed on a different life cycle than the car is. And so fully equipped in this instance is fully equipped for everything in the vehicle that's on the same life cycle. That's what it means. And so it is a good point. I'm sorry for teasing you, but that's the way they wrote it. So that's what we've got. Now, so since I'm already talking, look, we lost two cars this year. We lost the Taurus and we lost the Crown Vic. I'm pretty sure the two that we lost, and we didn't lose them because, they disintegrated to nothing, whether it was rust, rot, or unrepairable and not worth repairing. We lost two vehicles. They did purchase an animal control vehicle at a pretty good deal from what I was watching. But at the end of the day, we're still down a vehicle. And the last I saw, we were ramping up with police officers. So I am gravely concerned that we're going to get to a point where we don't have enough cars for the police officers that we're paying well to protect our community.
Yeah, I'll just jump in. I support this one because of the losing two. I think there's always a question of what's the right complement of vehicles, and there's some different opinions on that. But right now they got the four Chargers and the one SUV, the Explorer, whatever it is, and they're kind of operating with those. Keep a couple of vehicles out there, and another one when there's a little crossover in shifts, and they've got a line item in their budget to actually reimburse officers when they have to go to court and stuff rather than taking a cruiser, because the likelihood is they may not have one, because if one's in the shop, or heaven forbid we have an accident with one that can happen anytime, that I think they need one more, at least for this year. In looking ahead though, I would question where we go from here. I think the plan that the chief has, and I may be wrong on this, but I believe he wants to start trading in some of the others and get a full complement of the Tahoes for the ground clearance and putting equipment in it. And I probably would not support in the future replacing the Chargers until they get to the end of their useful life, as opposed to when they have more trade-in value, just to get the type of vehicle that the chief wants. So a Tahoe now would at least give him a little more flexibility in his
Tom, may I ask Naomi a question?
Oh, of course, Neil.
Naomi, I understand there's a line in the budget with no money in it, not even a zero, for police cruisers. Could you explain, if that's true, could you explain that?
Well, that was true Monday night. We have since taken it out. What that was, Neil, is way back, we had a conversation, and it won't take long to explain. It was a conversation about, at some point, one should be probably part of the operating budget like a lot of communities do. So we had put it in there, and the thought was way back that we could possibly put one in the budget and one on the warrant article, and on the warrant article would say it would be zero if the operating budget passed, but we scrapped that idea, thought it would be too confusing. We've removed everything that's a zero in his line items in his budget. So that was a discussion at the public hearing, but that has been taken away. There was a big fear that we were going to throw a car in there unbeknownst to anybody, and that's not happening.
Thank you.
Yeah, language question. With the fully equipped, we know that when we get to the deliberative, the usual suspects are going to go and parse every word. Is it possible to say equipped just to make it more realistic?
So Chris, that came up, and we can give that feedback to Naomi, but it really has already come up, and it came up last year. And so I think what's going to end up happening, if I suspect this correctly, someone's going to come up with an amendment to this. And it's not going to be me. I could just see it already happening, but I don't think it affects the decision that the recommendation we're going to make. I think what I'm hearing from you say is, can we help with the wording to support our recommendation? Is that what?
Well, if we vote to recommend, we know what happens at the deliberative session, and I didn't know, or somebody could just amend the article after the chief speaks at the deliberative. Either way.
I think that we should vote on it as is, and I think that we should give Bill a little bit of input into the blurb. This is my personal opinion, to help that, if possible, if it's possible to put some word in there, and maybe that heads off some of that nonsense.
I'm not even sure we as a committee can change the language.
No, I just meant in our blurb. We can just say things in our blurb. We believe this because it's whatever.
Thank you.
Yeah, like last year with the two blurbs for the police cruisers, I think we put some language in like to kind of clarify it because it was confusing.
We did, Megan. That's good recollection.
Yeah. I think that we have to keep it simple. To me, it's critical that this article passes.
Yes.
It's been like 3 years, I think, that we've been trying to do something here with this. They're actually down 3 cars because the Taurus is gone, the Crown Vic that was the animal control persons, and then there was another Crown Vic. I don't know whether it was this year or last that it was sold, that the lieutenant.
Oh, yeah. That's right, Tom. That was the year before.
Yeah, so those are all gone now. So thankfully, we finally got all of the Crown Vics out of our discussion. And as well as that Taurus, which, the projected repairs were going to cost more than the value of the car. So that's gone now too. So I support this, and I think we should keep the whole discussion as simple as possible, because I think that the confusion in the discussion and the wording is what sometimes has defeated this article in the past, even though the support was perhaps there for it. So keep it simple.
This is Megan.
Go ahead, Megan.
No, you're fine.
No.
I fully support this article. I think that, as Tom said, it's been many years that we've needed it. And I think that the town, as well as us, should be sending a clear voice to the townspeople that this is extremely needed for the safety of our town and of our officers.
Any other comments?
No, the only thing I was going to say, it's not that important, but I think when Tom said we're down 3 vehicles, I know when I talked to the chief, he said after the public hearing, he said in his eyes, his complement is 7 vehicles plus the ACO, which would mean he's really down 2. We may have had that many in the past, but it was a bunch of junkers trying to keep one on the road. So you needed an extra junker.
Okay. I'll throw it out there one last time. I'm considering mute. Any other comments before we go to vote? Okay, so we're going to vote on whether to recommend Article 15. And we're going to start with still Megan.
I'm going to enthusiastically say yes.
Sorry, Leah.
Yes.
Neil? Neil?
Apologies, yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yeah.
Nicole?
Yes.
Rachel?
Yes.
And Bill?
No, I'm kidding. Yes.
and Tom's a yes.
Yep.
So if I can count, that's 13.
13 yeses.
All right. So Bill, I mean, we kind of just said it, right?
I got enough.
Unless anybody else has a final thought there. Okay. Excuse me. All right. So Article 16. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $230,000 to be added to the previously established Highway, Truck, and Equipment Replacement Capital Reserve Fund for the purposes of purchasing a new, fully equipped 10-wheel plow truck for the Highway Department? The purpose is to replace an existing plow truck. And the tax impact is 26 cents. And I need a motion to recommend.
I motion. Leah.
Thank you.
Who was the second? I'm sorry.
Gary.
Thank you.
Comments, questions, debate? Gary doesn't want to go first.
A suggestion. I'm fully in support of the article, but at the public hearing, we were asked how much is in the capital reserve fund, and I think it was 64,000 and something. It just perhaps the consideration should be made, and we can't change it here, I know, to use some part of that toward the price of the truck, like $30,000 out of the capital reserve fund that's already there. Just to, we're talking about offsetting things as we go through, and that would be a way of doing it without interfering with the replacement schedule for the trucks in the department.
So wasn't there a truck that wasn't bought yet though, Tom? In other words, they hadn't extracted the funds?
I don't think so.
No, it was, so the figure I have is 168,364. And and I could have written it down wrong, but that's what I wrote down. And Benji said that some of that money is for upfitting of their little truck that was approved last year that they haven't gotten the parts in yet for.
Oh, that's right.
So I don't know what portion of that is part of that. But what I will say, I don't support this article. I think that the town should have weighed their asks, and that the police car is much more important in my eyes, and I think to the town, and that this is an article that I think we should pause on this year.
So if I could, just because to finalize the thought that Tom had and Megan helped with, I'd like to actually ask and just get clarity on that. If I don't think Benji's on the call, but either Beth, Naomi.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, hey Benji, can you help us out a little bit? Recollection. I don't know if our recollection's off.
Well, yes, Beth probably could answer it better than me, but the upfitting of neither of the trucks this year was in that number the other night. So there's more than $100,000 of that number that was not accurate.
You mean that's already spent, but just not out of the account?
Right.
Do you have any idea, like roughly what's going to be left after you spend the stuff that's already been devoted?
Around 57,000.
Okay. So Tom, that's not too, thank you, Benji. That's not too far off from what you were thinking, Tom. You thought it was around 65, right?
Yeah, I wrote that down at the hearing the other night. I don't know who said it, but I did write down 64,000.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any other questions? Comments?
No, the only thing I would say is we've had a number of years where we've been on target and tracking and recovering from when we spent 5 to 6 years where we didn't buy a plow truck. Now we've had about 5 years when we have bought one, 5 or 6 in a row. I support staying on that program like I do with the firefighters and staying on a program that's been established. But this is a year where we got to pause on something. So I would reluctantly vote no on it.
So I'm in a similar position where I understand vehicles more than anybody. The maintenance cost and all of those things. And I understand that we've got maintenance costs that are going up, but we might want to kick the can on this one. As much as I hate to say it, the impact, the year, I know that we could very well pay for making that decision as taxpayers, but we call it risk management in the business world. We might want to risk manage this one. And here's the reason I thought of this, and I hate to bring up another article, but we have a future article in regards to a box and the container and, the physical condition of it. And it seemed like that's pretty critical replacement. And so if I had to choose between the two, and I forget the word Bill used as far as priority and things like that, I feel like we might want to consider this as a next year approve, as much as I hate to skip a year and break the program.
I want to clarify something. Okay, I was not speaking against this article. I was just looking down through, and there are articles where there is money in the bank, so to speak, that could be used to offset a little bit. And that's what I was talking about. I'm going to vote to approve this article, but or to recommend it. But I just think that there is, if there's, Benji said 57,000, even taking 25,000 of that out of that to offset the cost is a few cents on the tax rate. The next one down, the trash trailer, you could probably pick up 10,000, 15 there out of what's already in that fund without upsetting the need or the rotation of new trucks. So again, I'm not going to vote against it. I'm going to vote for it no matter how it appears. But I think that there is room for the board to do some things with the numbers so that we could save probably, upward of 50,000 between those two articles without interfering with the need.
Thanks for clarifying, Tom. Anybody else? All right, I think we're gonna put this to a vote. Leah, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, so we're voting to recommend Article 16. And so let the voting begin.
Megan, I'm a no.
Okay, Leah?
I can't handle the pressure.
We can skip you. You're kind enough to take all the notes. We can skip you to last.
No, I'm going to say yes.
Neil?
No.
Chris?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
James? James, if you're talking, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I'm growling at myself. I'm gonna give it an unenthusiastic no.
Okay, Dennis.
Benji, I'm sorry. I always vote yes on this, but tonight I'm a no for the first time. I'm sorry, buddy.
Tammy.
No.
Nicole,
No.
Rachel,
Yes.
Bill.
No.
Tom is a regretful no.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 no's. So 4 yeses, 8 no's.
Let's try 5 yeses.
Oh, I'm sorry. 5 yeses, 8 no's.
Yeah, I have 5 to 8 as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so we did not vote to recommend. So can I have a motion to not?
So moved.
I motion to not recommend. I think that's what we have to do, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Excuse me. Yeah, I can't even talk. Yeah.
Fine.
We need a second. Is that Neil?
Second.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I say this out loud so it keeps me on track more than anybody. So we're voting to not recommend Article 16, and a response of yes or yay means that we agree with not recommending. So we're going to start the voting with Megan. To
Yes.
not recommend. Okay.
Yes, not recommend.
Leah.
No.
Neil.
Yes.
Chris.
No.
Tom.
No.
Gary.
No.
James.
Yes.
Dennis.
Yes.
Tammy.
Yes.
Nicole.
Yes.
Rachel.
No.
Bill.
Yes.
And Tom is a yes. Tom Downing.
Do I have to do it again? It's
Wow.
the same except
It's
flip flopped.
Yeah, it's 8. I was just waiting for you to finish typing your notes. So
Yeah, sorry.
we voted to not recommend, and the result was 8 to not recommend.
Yes.
5 to recommend.
Correct.
Okay. So as far as the blurb goes,
I got to pause. Risk year, non-safety.
Yeah, Bill, can you do me a favor?
Yep.
In this blurb, can you write, because I think that's important for the taxpayers to know that I think a lot of us believe that it is important to have our fleet updated, but we believe this is a paused year for many of the other factors and higher priority. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think I can emphasize it by saying we never want to go back to the years of when we paused for 5 years. That's like you're off of life support at that point. So, yeah, I'll say that this is a 1 year. We support the program, but in this unusual circumstances of this year, we're going to pause it.
Yeah, but Bill, and so I'm going to add one thing, and I hate to critique you because you're doing all this work, but I don't think it's just the COVID year. I think that based on the tax rates and all the things we have to pay for, I think we're all looking at everything. It's not just COVID. I think we're looking at, getting close to a $25 tax, per 1,000 tax rate, right?
Well, potential for the perfect storm, potential for reduced revenues coming in, and
right. It's not
increases that we're sitting there just trying to focus a little bit extra on safety, health and safety issues. And in Benji's case, I think we're not throwing them to the wolves, but we're saying if you're without a plow, if that plow truck craps out and is done, it's going to be a problem but it means that everybody you have to double up on a plow route, or it's not going to get plowed as quickly as it has in the past, and his phone's going to get rung off the hook. But it's something that we can deal with, or Benji can deal with. I don't have to deal with.
Okay. Are we good?
Yeah, I'm good. All
right, so we're going to move to Article 17. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $115,000 to be added to the previously established transfer station equipment capital reserve fund for the purpose of purchasing a new trash trailer for the transfer station? The purpose is to replace an existing transfer trash trailer, and the tax impact is 13 cents. Excuse me.
It's 3 cents, isn't it?
It's on the
No, it says 13.
Oh, you're looking at 18, Article 17.
Oh, sorry, I was looking at the wrong
I have
one.
a hard enough time the later it gets here.
Yeah.
So somebody want to motion to recommend?
Make a motion to recommend.
Second.
All right. So, I mean, I made a previous comment, so I'll just pick up on that comment and say, based on the pictures I saw, the trash trailer is about to fall apart, and there were monetary implications if that happens, meaning we have to contract to an outside agency. And based on what I know about rust and rot in New Hampshire, I think that this one's a priority. I'm going to pay now or pay later, and that later might be 2, 3, 4, 5 months from now.
Tom, do we know how much it would cost to contract this out?
I don't know. You know what? Let's ask Benji if he's still here, because I think it came up, but I don't know that we got any numbers, right?
Yeah. No, I don't have a number on that. I don't even know if it'd be a hard thing to contract out, because there isn't a lot of people that have those Packer type trailers just out for rent. Some transfer stations put their trash in an open top container, such as our demolition trailer, and pack it down with a backhoe. It's not how a transfer station is set up. You back into the building and a ram crams the trash in through a little tiny hole in the back door, and then you go to the burner and you open the door and a big ram pushes it out. So to answer the question, no, we don't know. And I wouldn't even know where to start looking for one of those trailers to contract out.
So Benji, in theory, and to build on Neil's point, if this, because we know what will happen with this when it fully rusts, it's going to fall, the sides are going to just fall open, right? Or the back door is going to blow out, whatever that is with the rust. But my question for you, if that happens, we go down to one trailer, correct?
Yes, and that wouldn't handle our load, so I don't know what we would do. Potentially shut demolition down is the only thing I could think of in emergency.
And ship that for trash, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we'd have to put the trash in the demolition trailer as our backup trailer, because we pull 2 trailers every Saturday. So we would have to probably deny demolition for that year, and they could take it to East Ware or wherever they're going to dump it, because they're not going to take it somewhere else.
Yeah, that's a joke, right?
I don't know. You've been down through East Ware?
I guess I've seen some in horror. I mean,
yes. I mean, we wouldn't be able to take it. That unless you found a trailer. That's what I would think of in an emergency. We don't. We need that. We pull 2 trailers every Saturday, so it's something that we can't really be without. So.
Thank you, Benji. Any other discussion on this? I don't know if I made my point clear about the walls coming apart, but that's a legit concern for anybody who's done any welding or rust repair. They literally can fall apart. My dad worked for a rubbish company for 30 years, so that's why I would most certainly want to vote for this. So
my question though is, Tom, is it at that point, because the picture that I saw, like I'm looking at right now, there's some rust. And I mean, we're talking about putting a pause on things. And, I'm curious, like, this is the first time we've heard about it. And I've been on the finance committee for three years. And I meant to pull out my CIP from last year to see if this was even on the list at that point. Like, could it be paused, or is it at that dire need that it's going to fall apart in the next couple of months?
I'd like to have one comment and then maybe let Benji jump in, but I saw holes, and when you get into rust and rot holes, a lot of times if you have rust or small holes, you can weld and build metal up on top of it. But once you get into sizable holes and then you're looking for something to weld.
I realize that.
All right, so if there's nothing left in the back to weld through and that's thin metal the whole way across, I don't think you can fix it. So I'd be looking for, Benji, if you want to pick up and answer the rest of Megan's question.
Well, yes, I mean, it's at that point, and I don't know if I've brought this to your guys' attention this year or not, but every year we only bring what is dire need this year. I don't waste your guys' time what I think we might need that you might vote no on. I wait till the last second to ask for it. So keep in mind, everything that we approve in March, we won't get till, I have one plow truck I haven't got yet. So it's a whole year out from what the vote is today. I don't have spare anything. I'm very disheartened by the last article, but that's over now. But the trash trailer, what we're going to go for is a 3-axle trash trailer, get more tonnage in it. So we moved our trips from 3 trips
on the floor, I think.
2 trips a week by saving hauling. And this trailer originally was a 2-axle trailer that we fabricated a 3rd axle under years ago. And so it's a necessity. I feel everything I bring forth to you guys is. So.
Yeah, this is Bill. I support this one because Benji doesn't have the same wiggle room of flexibility. I mean, he does have a fleet of trucks. If a truck goes, it creates an impact, but it's not the same impact as when this trailer goes. This trailer goes, he's got no flexibility to meet the current program. So I think it's a need. And if it does give out on the sides, it'll probably be on the way to over in Dunbarton somewhere on 77 with trash all over the road.
Okay. Is there any other questions, comments? All right, so we're going to vote to recommend Article 17. I just want to make sure I'm on the right spot. For the new trash trailer. We're going to start the voting with Megan to recommend. Megan?
I know. I was thinking. I was taking one final moment to think. Yes.
Leah? Leah, if you're talking, we can't hear you. It's okay if you're thinking.
You muted herself.
Sorry, I muted myself and I forgot that I did. Yes, please.
Point of order, Tom, did we have a motion?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Thought we did.
Have a motion? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Oh man, I think I'm losing it now. So I think Neil was next.
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
Rachel?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
And Tom is a yes.
13 yeses.
Bill, you good?
I'm good on this one.
Oh, thank you, Leah. Sorry. Where am I?
Okay.
Thank you. Yep, got it. Megan, are you available to maybe read a couple here? I'm losing my voice.
Yeah, I was surprised that you were reading them all. It's okay.
Well, I was going to power through it.
Okay. Let's see. We are at Article 18, correct?
Yes.
All right. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $25,000 to be added to the previously established bridge reconstruction capital reserve fund for the purpose of erecting, repairing, and or replacing bridges?
Make a motion to recommend.
Second.
So my recollection of this was I think this was for additional funds, if I'm not mistaken, to offset expected or potential increases. Am I misremembering this?
No, you got it.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's pretty much it. The town needs to raise a certain percentage, and since we've been kicked out a year or so on our turn, we need to make sure that our percentage is ready when the state comes and says, all right, we're going to do this. Do you have all of your money? And if we're short 25,000, or if we're short, $2 or whatever it is, then we go to the back of the line again. So that's the majority of what this is for. It's also to allow for immediate repair of some bridges and things that are currently falling apart.
Yeah, that's right. I think Benji said the River Road Bridge, we might need to repair before it gets to that point. And if I remember correctly, they said we've collected enough money, but we're not accounting for increases in costs, because by the time this is done, geez, it was farther out. I think it was wasn't it potentially 2026, Bill?
But
Correct.
I thought I remember.
Correct. We got a little over 420,000 in and out, because 105,000 over 4 years. We got 420. There's a little bit of chunk change in their interest, just over that. And what I heard was that I think Naomi's been in contact with the state people. They were projecting like 2026 for River Road, but we may have to take some money out of this in the meantime to keep the bridge usable and before that. But to me, go with the best information available. If it's not till 2026, this is a pause, and try again next year, because I don't think we're going to need this money this year, this 20,000.
So Bill, just so I get an idea of your thought process, so it sounds like the bridge repairs on River Road, without getting into specifics, are probably inevitable, whether it's this year or next year, but say it's this year. That has to be done no matter what, or else they close the road. And so that money has to come out of our bottom line town budget, right?
Oh, no.
I'm sorry, can you help me understand what happens in that scenario?
Go ahead, Tom.
Wouldn't it come out of the 420,000 we've already put into the fund?
That's my understanding. I don't know.
I think that's true too. I do have a question. Someone said this money could be used to repair bridges, which was rather indefinite. I thought this fund was for 4 specifically named bridges.
It's actually three bridges that the state called red, if I recollect correctly.
Oh, Lull Road, Francistown Road culverts, and River Road Bridge.
Okay, so the money cannot be used for other bridges. Is that correct?
I think going back to when I was in a different position, decision-making position, I believe we tried to avoid in the articles themselves listing the bridges, but in the blurbs, we could tell which bridges were the most endangered. So that way it left the possibility for another emergency to be covered by the fund. Either Benji or Naomi probably can give a more exact answer, but I know that discussion was there, that if we're too specific, then we have another bridge that fails. We would be left with not being able to work on that. So I think that it is a little more open than just those specifics, even though we know that's what we got to do in the future.
Another question, Tom. Let's assume we need $25,000 to repair Bridge X. Nothing prevents the selectmen from taking it out of their budget once they find it. Is that correct?
Well, it depends on whether or not we pass their budget.
No, even with the default budget, there's going to be another 300,000 or whatever it is, likely, maybe a little less. But the point is, there's going to be a significant amount of unspent money from this budget, this default budget. Assuming that's the case, let's not debate that. They could take that money and use it for an emergency bridge repair. They don't have to go to the fund.
Do we want to get clarification? Tom, do you know that for sure, or do we want to?
It's speculation as far as what there may or may not be in the budget, and it's kind of hard to tell if the problem happens in March, whether or not you're going to have end of the year surplus in the current budget. So, yes and no. I guess, do they have the right to? Of course. But do they know they're going to have that money when the emergency occurs? Probably not, unless it occurs in November.
Thank you, Tom.
I don't think I want to take a risk on losing our place in line for the state. If others, yeah, we might be pushed out, in theory, but if other towns do this as well and get bumped and bumped and bumped, hey, it's Ware's turn now. Oh, do we have the money or do we not? I think, and Benji can correct me on this, I think we were specifically talking about River Road for the immediate repairs, but I think the more pressing issue is just to make sure that we have whatever the state comes back with, that we have the money on hand for that.
So if I can just clarify real quick.
Yeah, go ahead, Benji. I was going to ask.
Yeah, so this article was put in here for both reasons that you've all stated. One is to, add to the more likely the inflation that's going to be on the bridges when it comes time to replace them, but also to give us some money to do repairs, because it's very hard to just shut a bridge down, shut a road down. The 105,000 was for our 20% of the 20% of the 3 bridges that are on the red list. And as what was just stated, we are on the list for 2026. However, if a town does not have their 20%, they get knocked the end of the list. And I believe that happened to us actually on Peasley Road Bridge. So we got kicked down the road because the town didn't appropriate any money. So this 20,000 would be, if we don't have to replace it, it would help add to the inflation of the bridge replacement. And if we do have repairs that need to be done, I would be able to use that instead of trying to take it out of the budget, which don't really have a budget line for that anyway. So, well, that made anything any clearer now.
I have a question.
Sure.
Benji, so if the state comes back and moves us up, it wouldn't be for all 3 projects, though. It might just be for the River Road project. Is that correct?
Correct.
Right. So we would have the 20% because we're basing it on all 3 projects. Is that correct?
I would sure hope so. I would hope that it didn't inflate that much, but those numbers were derived almost 6 years ago, because this is year number 5 and we got but yes, to answer your question, theoretically, hopefully.
Okay.
It would be more likely that not all 3 projects would come down from the state at the same time. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'm going to try to not split hairs, but I just need a little clarity here. So theoretically, if all 3 projects got approved by the state and they came in and we were short a small sum of money, are we saying that the select persons cannot pull it out because the state doesn't see it allocated already in the reserve fund? Or could they compensate for the difference theoretically?
I guess I don't know that answer.
It sounds like it's more for maybe Naomi.
Tom, I don't know what you're asking. Sorry, but I don't understand what you're asking.
Okay, so what we're saying is if the state shows up and says we're ready and we don't have the full 20%, they move on. But if we don't have does that mean we don't have the 20% in the capital reserve fund? Or they show up and say, where's your money? And we say, we need another 10,000 that in the capital reserve fund, we're ready to go. Does it have to be in a specific location allocated?
I think the bulk of it does. I would say, and again, Naomi can answer, but I think that if there was money in the budget, the selectmen would have some space to move it. But, again, it might even require legal counsel to answer that question. I'm not sure.
Okay, I don't want to get too bogged down in it. I was just curious.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
I guess my concern would be the River Road Bridge, the amount of use that road gets, especially with heavy trucks. If there was an issue where it was in need of repair before the state was ready, would we be able to repair that to mitigate, loss of life or damage or road closure.
Well, I'm kind of unsure because the original $405,000 appropriations, without having any papers in front of me, I believe was appropriated to come up with our 20% of the state bridge aid. So I'm not sure, I'm sure Naomi or Beth could answer, but I'm not sure that you could use any of that money to repair that bridge, which is going to need to, if we do get put out to 2026, there is a hole in the deck at the south expansion joint that we put coal patch in, falls in the river. We're gonna have to do something with that before the next 5 years. So that's why I put this on here originally, was for repairs. And then we said, well, also there's probably gonna be some inflation, so we'll just put wording of both on there. But I'm not sure, to answer your question, if we can use any of that 420,000 originally allocated to repair a bridge, because I'm not sure it was worded that way. But Naomi probably better.
Would you, Benji, yeah. do you know, or could you even estimate what it would cost to make repairs to that bridge if we had to do it before the state was ready?
No, because I couldn't tell you what they tell us we need to do for repairs. The last time that the state red listed that bridge, it got done what seemed to be almost overnight. So it went from being a fully rated bridge to a 20-ton weight limit in a year, realistically, but they do their inspections annually. So no, I wouldn't be able to tell you what the cost would be.
Okay, thank you,
I hate
Benji.
to spend money on patches. I'm not one of them people. That's why I try. But you can't shut a road like that down either. So.
Exactly, and that's what I'm trying to wrap my brain around, and the potential liability to the town if that bridge fails completely and somebody gets hurt.
So the only rated bridge on that road, or unrated, I should say, without a weight rating on that road for 9 miles or whatever it is. So.
Concerning the question about how the use of money is, I have last year's article for 105,000 has the same wording as this year's article, and it says to be added to the previously established bridge construction capital reserve fund for the purpose of erecting, repairing, or replacing bridges. So, and that was from last year. So it seems like that capital reserve fund could be used for repair because it has repair in it in the past when it was established.
Here's my understanding of where we are. There's 420,000 plus interest in the fund. It was set up for 3 bridges to either replace them or repair them, because as Tom just read, the language in the article talks about repair. So if River Road needs a repair, it could come out of that fund. If it seems that it's unlikely that we would be doing all 3 of those bridges in 1 year. So we wouldn't lose our place, since we, I think, clearly have enough money for 1, probably 2 bridges in that fund, even with inflation. So there doesn't seem to be an immediate need this year to put money in there for inflation. By the time the 3rd bridge is necessary to replace, yes, we'll probably have to put more money in the fund. And finally, to the extent that the selectmen, that the fund needs to have additional money placed in it or additional money spent for the purposes, if the selectmen can find the money, they can spend it for these purposes. So based on that, and if somebody disagrees, let me know, I'm not quite clear why it's so urgent that we put in the $25,000 at this time.
I agree, Neil.
Yeah, I can understand that logic. Although in the past, when we finished the $405,000 inputs, I spoke up saying that we should continue to put money in there because there are going to be other bridges in town. So it should be a permanent fund. But also I understand it wouldn't necessarily have to be this year. that the addition is put in. But I think that looking down the road with this, that this should be a fund that has some money put into it on a regular basis, because there could be other smaller bridges that fail. We have a lot of bridges in town besides those three. But for what Neil was saying, as far as the immediacy right now, we probably could get by a year without putting anything in it. But I think we got to come back to it and continue to build it.
Yeah, I just think that's sufficient. There's a good foundation amount in there. Let's spend something out of it before we start putting more into it.
All right, I'm thinking that we need to go to a vote unless somebody has something on the other side of the argument to add. Okay. So we're going to vote to recommend Article 18. And we're going to start the vote with Megan.
I'm going to vote no.
Leah.
An unenthusiastic no.
Neil.
No.
Chris.
Well, I guess no.
Tom. C.
No.
Gary.
Yes.
James. Oh, he's really unenthusiastic. James, you there?
Sorry. Yes.
Dennis.
No.
Tammy.
No.
Nicole.
No.
Rachel.
No.
And Bill.
No.
And Tom Downing is going to be a no on this one.
So we have 2 yeses and 11 no's.
Okay.
That's what I have as well.
So we will not be recommending. Can someone make another motion?
Make a motion to not recommend.
I'll go first. Yay. To
Well,
not
hold on.
recommend.
Hold on.
Hold.
Oh, sorry, I forgot the second. Sorry.
Did we get a second?
I second that then. Sorry. I was trying to speed things up.
I appreciate it. We gotta wait for Leah's fingers up. Leah, you good to go?
Yeah. Sorry.
All right. Sorry,
Okay. Who gave the motion?
James?
James, and Megan was the second.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
And Megan, I don't even remember what you said. What was your vote? Not recommend.
I said yay to not recommend.
Good. Okay.
Leah, yes.
Neil.
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Gary.
No.
James.
No.
Dennis.
Yes.
Tammy.
Yes.
Nicole.
Yes.
Rachel.
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
And Tom is a yes. Is it the same number?
Yep.
Okay. So we vote to not recommend. I think we talked this one to death, Bill. Does anybody have any final comments on the blurb?
I'm good.
Yeah, I think you got that one.
Yep.
You want me to read the next one, Tom?
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
All right. Article 19. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $525,000 to be added to the previously, I was thinking I was reading the same one again, sorry. Added to the previously established Road Reconstruction Capital Reserve Fund for road reconstruction and resurfacing of roads with up to $276,150 anticipated to be received from the state of New Hampshire Highway Block Grant, and the estimated remaining balance of $248,850 to be raised by taxation.
Make a motion to recommend.
Second.
I don't think we need to discuss this.
Why is that?
I think most of us would very much like to see us have the ability to get from our homes to where we need to go.
That's a fair answer. Okay. Anybody
I
else?
agree with Neil.
Any counter arguments?
My road's already been done. I don't need to do any more.
Yeah.
But it might need to be touched up.
Yeah.
Look,
I am not serious about that. I want you to know.
Yeah, this is a no-brainer for anybody who's been around for a couple of years and saw the highway presentation that was done about the upkeep on the roads and investing and continue to invest because it costs you more in the long run. It was a perfect example, I thought. And that I will say one thing, the most disturbing statement I heard was, if you keep up the way that we're going, we're all going to be driving on dirt roads. And where? Because I think we had some that were pretty close to that, right?
Well, I, for one, am amazed at how many less dirt roads and where there are in 25 years coming back, 25 years later coming back.
Oh, yeah. All right.
When
That's
I left,
good.
everything was dirt.
Well, my shocks are lasting a lot longer since we did that grant.
All right. Well, do we put this to a vote? Does anybody else have any discussion or debate? Neil might be right. Okay.
No, I have a question, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
So does that money I have a question for Benji. Is that money matching? In other words, if we don't approve it, do we still get the 276 from the state?
Yes. Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, so matching, I don't know, but yeah, we'll get that amount, whatever it says. Look at
that money either way.
Eyes are getting blurry, but the anticipated 276, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well, yes, hopefully the state raises their amount. That's anticipated, of course.
Right, it's always plus or minus.
All right, we'll go around the table. Is there any other questions or comments? Debate? Okay, with none, we're going to put Article 19 to a vote, and that's to recommend. And we'll start whenever Megan is ready.
I'm ready. I'm a yes.
I'm a yes.
Neil is a yes.
Chris is a yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
Rachel?
Yes.
And Bill?
Yes.
Okay, Tom is a yes. Neil was right. We didn't even have to talk about it.
13, unanimous.
Yeah, so we're so Bill, I don't have much to say other than I'd like to just make a statement about what I stated, which is the keeping the roads up for future investment. If you could even make a, consistent with what we've done over the last, and I think the wording last year is probably in there already, Bill.
I already wrote it up.
Yeah.
Last night, or I said the committee supports the article. I'll say strongly supports when it's a vote like that. The 2019 road reconstruction bond has righted the ship and set us on a path to keep up with road maintenance, provided we sustain annual funding. Failure to approve this article will start us on the road to playing catch up down the road. Approval will keep us on track. If this article fails, the town would still receive state funding up to the anticipated level in the article.
Okay, so move to Article 20. Megan, you want me to take over?
Oh, sorry. Sorry. I can do Article 20. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $20,000 to be added to the previously established government building and maintenance capital reserve fund for the purpose of funding unanticipated failures to aging infrastructure?
Make a motion to recommend.
Second.
Question, how much is in the fund now? And is there anything in particular that the selectmen feel must be done this year?
To Naomi, please. Naomi, excuse me.
It's just short of $60,000, and that is about $58,000. We've always kept 60 in there because we have several buildings, several furnaces, several septic systems, a lot of things. We do know we have some air conditionings that are on the way out. You can take that as what you want. Does everybody need air conditioning? Just makes everybody's mood a little better. We don't have anything targeted for it, but the age of the buildings isn't getting any younger.
I have a question, Naomi. Does the library building cover underneath that fund, or do they have their own established?
They do come under that fund. The way the will of Evan Page was written, the daily operations are in the library's operating budget, but capital expenditures come from the town, although they did pay for their own furnace, but most of their AC is about 30 years old and it was broken 4 years ago. So one of them now, they have a wastebasket under it because it's filling up the director's office with water. So they're way past due on air conditioning. And a lot of places let their employees go if the building gets over 90 degrees. So, you know, just think about that. Plus the inventory, which is books, ages way faster if it gets that hot.
Chris, yeah, so the only reason why I brought that up is because from my understanding, talking with someone this week, that they did go in and change and put in some new air conditioning units in there this week. And from my understanding, it's going to be pretty much of a whopper of a bill.
Yeah, well, and you know, that's another thing about the library's budget that isn't quite according to Hoyle. In order for them to spend their trust money, which was given to them 2 years ago, they're supposed to gross budget it, and they didn't. So, you know, something is kind of out of whack there, but they did get some money from the Buxtons, and I think that's where they're getting the money for the AC.
Okay.
But they didn't gross budget it. It never was submitted when they submitted their budget last year.
All right. Well, thank you for that information.
There are also, and I bring this up frequently, there's a lot of exterior work that still needs to be done on the town hall, the old town hall, because there's deterioration that's continuing until we get in there and fix it, you know, whether it's the corner boards, the cornices around the roof and so forth. So that there's a need there to catch that before it gets any more deteriorated.
I have a question for Naomi, excuse me. Did we ever resolve the air conditioning unit in the town hall? Didn't we have one or two that was like, I know how the plumbing thing worked out, you explained that, but there was because we talked about this last year, right? There was an air conditioning unit or two that was either failing or on the edge of failing, or?
We made it through. You know, not to say that next year is going to be any better. As you know, when you come to the town office, they sit out there in the elements. And we haven't had much snow this year, but you do, when they clean off the handicap ramp, they shovel the snow, and it can't help but fill up. But, I mean, hopefully we'll get them cleaned and serviced again. Cold is about 72. So, you know, we'll do our best.
Thank you for that. You know, the comment for the committee that I had is, I'm not a big fan of just putting money in funds without really a good indication where it would go. This one seems like it probably makes sense because we've already heard of several different scenarios, you know, where money could be used. Air conditioning was a concern of mine. I can appreciate that they probably just replace some of the library, but the overall concern is if we're ended up on a default budget, they're now cutting into other funds and spending money that maybe we didn't have. We're supposed to go to something else. This is an example where if something breaks, they're going to have to do the very same. And eventually the well runs dry. And this might be an example of one where it makes sense for us to do it.
Tom, Naomi said there's 58,000 in the fund. They like to keep it at 60, but they're asking for 20 more, which would bring it up to 78. Isn't it being overfilled?
It could, but in my head, and I apologize, I'm not sharing everything that's in my head. I know what major air conditioning units cost. And you can spend $10,000, $20,000 in one replacement. And I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen. I just, in my head, I was starting to think of the real numbers.
What was it? Sorry, Neil, wasn't there an article last year, and I apologize, I meant to grab the articles from last year. Wasn't there an article last year specifically for the ACs in the town building? What was that amount?
Let me look. I think I have it here. Oh, the article's on in the one I have. I'm sorry. Oh, here it is. It'll take me a second to look. Bridges, radio, bear with me a second. Capital Reserve. Oh, okay. So there was an article on fixing rot but that was in the town hall, and then cemetery.
There was something about the ACs last year.
There was one in here.
Yeah, Article 18.
Yep.
Okay.
80,500 to be added to the previously established. Yeah. And it was voted down 987 to 609 in the voting. The recommendation by the Finance Committee was 7-6 in support. And this article ensures that the government building and maintenance fund will maintain an acceptable balance of 60,000 after completion of these projects. If this article is defeated, the unreserved funds could be used to reduce the tax rate by an estimated 3 cents. How much was spent in this fund last year?
Naomi, can you help us with that? Oh, her camera's off.
I'm not sure that I have it with me. Yeah, I don't.
Is Beth still on? Would she have it?
Oh, it's not. It's okay. No, that's okay if you don't have it. I'm just saying that I'm kind of leaning towards the way Neil is. Zero. Okay. Well, we want to maintain 60,000. We're pretty close to it at 58. So that's why I'm saying let's if we have a problem or we want to do something, spend it out of there. And if it comes down to a level that's sufficiently below 60,000, we'll address it then and get it back up where it belongs. But it's pretty close to where it belongs right now in this year.
I'm sorry, the balance is $49,899.
Well, we just lost $8,000. Okay.
Yeah, Naomi, that's consistent with the notes I have from last year, which would support zero. You spent zero because I noted it as 50,000 last year. So fortunately, you guys didn't have to use it, I guess.
I mean, we were good stewards.
That's what we like.
We try.
Even though duct tape.
They make it in many colors now.
They do. Camouflage too.
So Bill, just to get clarification, I think I want to make sure I'm hearing your opinion on this. I think what you're saying is maybe this is a pause where you're suggesting we go down lower on and then recover it later. Is that what you were thinking?
It was certainly that way when I thought it was 57, and I'm still there because nothing was spent out of it this year. So yeah, I'm overusing. I already overused the term pause, so I don't want to use it again. But I'm just saying no this year. Yeah.
The other thing, we didn't do any projects largely we were closed for COVID reasons. So, nobody was going to come in and do any work for us either. So.
Plus, I know this isn't a whole lot, but ironically, when I was adding up all the numbers of what we've approved, I come out to where right on to where I said I would be agreeable to, which is 25, 24, $1.29 increase, $322 on a $250,000 house. That's if my start budget tax impact is correct. I had it as 716, but I thought Megan's table showed it higher than that. And I don't know if I have the right number I'm using. I had it.
You're losing me, Bill.
Yeah, okay, I'll shut up.
I had it as 759 with the warrant.
759 was the school's number, and they were using the wrong nav.
Okay.
Yeah, so really 716, right, Megan?
Okay.
And I honestly, I have 750, and I've been in fiscal year end.
Guys,
so I just haven't had a chance to go to Chris, but we can talk about that tomorrow night.
Okay.
Yeah. On this article, I'm with Bill that I'm unenthusiastically leaning towards pausing, just because I feel like we need to do some offsetting to other things.
Anybody else? Comments?
Well, again, I hate to see the rot and rust continue. And, that's why I'm going to vote to support the article, but I would want to see it used. That's the thing. As far as stuff that has been waiting for, in my mind, quite a few years to be repaired. I'm not talking air conditioners and things. I mean, those are a necessity. They should be done first. But again, we can't let a building go to rot, regardless of which building it is.
Yeah, Tom, I'm going to agree with you on that one. We didn't approve it last year, but I thought we probably should have. But also, I don't think we can look at the not spending last year because of the pandemic and everything being shut down as a reason to not fund it for this coming year, with the anticipation that we won't be in lockdown, at least for all of the year. I think we would actually have an opportunity to spend. And I think it'd be better to have the money in there to spend it.
This is Tammy. I agree with Tom and James. I would hate to see the historical buildings in our town go to rot.
Okay. Is there any other comments? Okay.
I'll move to recommend, see where it goes from there.
Yeah, so we'll go to vote to recommend on Article 20, and we're putting it to a vote when Megan is ready.
Did somebody second it?
We already had.
No, he's moving. We don't have to second a move.
I'm sorry. I'm getting tired.
Okay. So we're voting
yes.
on 20.
Yep. And I'm a yes.
I'm a yes.
Neil?
No.
Chris?
Yes.
Tom C?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Dennis?
No.
Tammy?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
Rachel?
Yes.
Bill?
No.
And Tom's going to vote yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 yeses, 3 no's.
That's what I have as well.
So Article 21 passes. We will recommend. So we're switching Article 22, and we're on the last page. I'm going right down to the text, just so I can say that.
But Tom, are you skipping 21?
I may have, Neil. It's quite possible.
Yeah, that was 20.
I'm sorry. Thank you. I didn't realize I scrolled so far. Thank you. Megan, you want me to?
No, I can go. I was just waiting to make sure I didn't interrupt you. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 for cemetery improvements and fund this appropriation by authorizing the withdrawal of said sum from Cemetery Trust Fund Pres account?
A motion, please.
Recommend.
I'll second.
This is, again, something we've always approved. There's no tax impact, comes from a trust fund, and Bill can simply copy what we said last year and the year before and the year before and the year before.
Much I'd love to disagree with Neil, I completely agree with him. Any other comments? Is this a no-brainer?
I think it's a no-brainer. I say we go to vote.
Give it a second. Okay. No other comments. We will vote to recommend Article 21.
I am a yes.
Okay.
Yes, Tom.
Leah, yes.
Neil?
Oh, yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Tom, see?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
Rachel?
Yep.
And Bill?
Yes.
Okay, I'm a yes as well. Tom Downing?
That's 13 yeses.
And it passes, and we don't need to talk about blurbs because Bill's probably got everything he needs on that, unless he tells me otherwise. Okay, so that, now we're on the last page, which is
22, yeah. Maybe we can make the suggestion that somebody looks at it to make sure that like they're all on the same page. The article number is when they.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. There was a few different things that were like that I was like, wait, it's all right. So Article 22, shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $30,000 to allow the Conservation Commission to secure contracted services with a licensed forester for forestry services, and including plan updates, harvest layout, harvest management, forest inventory, invasive species control, and other related services, and fund this appropriation by authorizing the withdrawal of that sum from the town forest account.
Make a motion to recommend.
Second.
Do we really need a discussion on this? It's on there every year.
No.
I don't think so, but we're going to give everybody a chance. Anybody?
I'd just like to know how much is in that account.
We can ask. I think it came up recently. I don't remember when, but let's ask. Naomi, do you know what's in that account?
If it's too much trouble, don't worry about it.
$321,889.
Thank you. All right. So we're going to vote for Article 22. Okay. So we will start the vote now to recommend Article 22, starting with Megan.
Yes.
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 Gary.
Yes.
James says yes.
Yes. Dennis says yes.
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 Tom's a yes. Easy peasy.
13 yeses.
We will recommend 22. Actually, yeah, so we were on 22. 23 is next.
So 23 is, shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $140,000 for the Conservation Commission expenditure? Hold on. Is this the one? No, sorry. Towards the purchase of new town forest land and fund this appropriation for authorizing the withdrawal of that sum from the town forest account.
Motion.
Make a motion to recommend.
Second.
Okay. I think is there any debate or discussion on this? I think it's a no-brainer as well, right? Zero tax impact. Questions?
Yeah, they just keep this article running every year in case something really good comes up and they want to buy it.
Okay. So with no other comments or questions, we're going to go to a vote to recommend Article 23. Okay. We're going to start at the top.
All right. I am a yes.
Yes.
Neil is a yes.
Chris is a yes.
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 Dennis?
Yes.
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 And Bill?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
And I'm a yes. So if I count correctly at this almost 10 o'clock time, it's 13-0. We will recommend Article 23. Okay. So it's getting late. Help me remember. I don't think we talk about these. If there's no money tied to these articles, I don't think we talk about them, do we?
You're correct, Tom.
Nope.
Yeah. And so as far as I'm concerned, I think we're done with articles unless there is a request to revisit an earlier article. I'm not sure I want to do it tonight, but I think I'd like to get a feel from the committee members if we think that there are going to be articles that we're going to want to revisit tomorrow, because I think our intent, just as a reminder, our intent tomorrow was to just go through and agree and approve on the blurbs unless there's any reconsideration.
I think that it might be helpful to see Megan's revised spreadsheet with the changes that we've approved, so we know what the percentage increase is and its effect on local property taxes. Until we have that, it's very hard for me to say, yes, let's go back and revisit.
So Neil, I've been updating it as we've been going. That's why I knew what the for and against was. So right now, what I have, and someone can agree with me. So it looks like the total tax rate with what we have done would be 26.52 and on $26.52, sorry. And so the impact on a $250,000 house, because that's what we always go off of, is $643.08. I can double check those numbers tomorrow just to verify that I'm correct, but that's what I got right now.
I think
I hope you're wrong.
Megan, it's wrong. It is. I can see one that's wrong.
Which one's wrong?
You've got us approving the Ware school budget at 10 something, and we got that down. It was 961, but
no, I have 1054. So what came? The 1050.
Yeah, wait. I don't know. Where'd you get the? I'm off from where you're at with both Ware schools and Stark schools.
I know. I think that's where I think I need to send this to, or I need to message with Chris tomorrow and find out what their numbers are. Because I'll be honest, like I've spent some time trying to back into their numbers, and I thought I got it, but possibly I'm off.
Yeah, when we talked to him that night, I thought I revised the numbers because Chris was saying, "Oh yeah, we'll use the Ware numbers," and I thought what I had was Ware school budget if it was approved was 1068, not approved was 961, and with Stark it didn't matter with Stark, it was the same because it was so close to proposed in a default, but I had it like 716 and 716.
Yeah. And I have
where we're off.
Megan.
And I have the 1068 for approved, but then I have 1054 for not approved.
Oh.
Megan,
954.
Yes.
Whatever you do, make sure that there's no difference between the school numbers that they use and the school numbers that we use.
No, that's why I'm saying I need to message with Chris and ask him what is the numbers that they're going to use at their deliberation session. Because what I actually did was I put like the town's numbers, I put in 2 cents because the rounding in in the Excel spreadsheet is not coming up to the 5.60 that it should. Okay. So I put 2 cents in there so that we're matching. Okay. And that's what I'm saying. I just haven't had a chance to go to him to say, what is the number you're coming with?
And secondly, I come up with 517 for the town, not 513, but I may be wrong on that also.
I got 514.
Okay, and the other thing is, could you send whatever the revision is, could you send that out to us before the meeting tomorrow night? So
this is a live document.
Yeah.
It's the same link. You just go to the same link. It updates while she's doing it. That's why it's on my screen.
Yeah. So it's like, it's out on like,
it's in the cloud.
It's in the cloud. So when I update something, it's automatically updating if you're looking at that web link.
Even though you sent that email to me 7 years ago. I don't mean literally, but you sent it to me a number of days ago.
And yes, correct. It's the same exact document.
Thank you. That sort of shakes my world, because every time I get something, you can change it in 2 seconds and I'll never know whether I'm dealing with the most recent version.
Well, yeah, you can take a screenshot of it too, though, or you can just make a copy and save it locally.
Or you know what, Neil, next time I'll put down at the bottom, like, a date stamp or something. So,
I can handle this. Thank you.
Okay.
So tomorrow, Tom, we do need to meet tomorrow because we're going to make some decisions as a group on the blurbs.
Correct.
Which we can't do.
Well, we need to give Bill more than 10 minutes.
I'm sorry?
We need to give Bill more than 10 minutes, that's all. So we're scheduled, Naomi had already posted the notice at 7 o'clock tomorrow evening. And so I can't imagine that Bill isn't gonna do a fantastic job and we're gonna spend all night talking about blurbs. So I think 7 o'clock is reasonable. But before everybody came on, there was a concern that, Megan had a concern. She wanted to listen into the whole deliberative session part of the school board. That's all they're meeting for tomorrow. So Chris had a suggestion. I guess Megan's the only one who brought it up. Megan, is that a concern enough that you think that we need to?
No, I wasn't more of a concern. It was more of like, FYI, this is what's going on, because they just announced, or I at least just saw it this morning, and I just wanted to make sure that we were aware. If they're still going and our meeting starts, I'll sign off and come on to this. I'm fine with that. But it's obviously, it doesn't affect our decisions, but it's information that we should know.
Is it recorded?
It is supposed to be recorded now, yes.
Tom, when we last met, Naomi was going to be meeting, I think, sometime with the moderator and a few other people to decide on meeting dates. Did that occur, and have we had a report?
It did occur, and we don't have a report because it wasn't worked out. I don't know exactly what happened. All I know is I read the update from the chair. I think she's a Stark chair, Wendy. She had sent out a notice. And so there's another meeting. They're going to discuss it in detail tomorrow. But Megan, correct me if I'm wrong. At the end of the day, if push comes to shove, the town could push the issue and force it to happen regardless, because they're all grouped. The budgets are related or intermingled.
Well, that's my understanding from what Wendy said and from like what Naomi has said and stuff, is that the town kind of decides it because they own the the vote basically, or holding the vote rather. And that they could say, no, we're going forward with a deliberation session and we're going forward with the vote when it is. And the school would either have to follow suit or they would have to hold their own election at a later date. They can't, the town
and
wouldn't
pay for it.
Yes, and they would have to, and the school would have to pay for it. Yes.
And think about the implications to the Henniker School District as well.
Well, and Henniker is saying that they're basically going to do the same thing. That my understanding was that the three of them were kind of basically saying the same thing, that they were going to delay deliberative session. And that, the town saying and the attorney saying no, like the moderator doesn't have that right to say no, kind of puts a wrench in that plan. So I don't know. That's why I'm interested to hear what they have to say tomorrow night, and what they've decided, because I've heard that there's been discussion amongst the board. It's been interesting.
Okay. I only raised the question out of curiosity. It doesn't affect our actions, doesn't affect our meeting tomorrow.
No, just interesting.
Yeah. It was more of like, this is going on, like, what do we want to do? And between the time I sent the email and the time that Tom responded was me thinking about it's like, we just need to continue on and we do the blurbs and all of that. And when the deliberative session happens, it happens and we'll be ready.
Okay. So
Tom, I can share if you care to, or I'll just shut up and you guys can be done for tonight. So.
If it's going to take a minute or two, then yes. If it's complicated, I think everybody wants to.
So we did meet Thursday night. We had it all hashed out until Governor Sununu decided to make a wrinkle with Emergency Order 83. In the afternoon of Friday, taking the ability to move the meetings from the moderators to the selectmen and the school boards. We set our deliberative session and I posted, we're moving forward for Saturday, February 6th with the voting on second Tuesday in March, which is March 9th. That was decided last night and I posted everything today. I'm sorry, I ran around and posted last night after the meeting. We have decided to move the first session to the highway garage versus the school. Because it's 80 by 100, you can social distance, you can be outside, you can be inside. There's a lot of things that we could talk about later, but we've set our dates.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Naomi, will you close the transfer station for that day then because of the traffic and places?
No, we're just going to enlist the police department that'll show people to go out back and park, not parking on the street.
Thanks for that update. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So for tonight, given the time, we're gonna do we'll do minutes tomorrow. I do have one last thing that I want to talk about, and that's in regards to procedurally at the deliberative, because I just want to have it locked in my head. I don't really remember what we did last year, but I think the chair is either the chair and vice chair or the chair and the secretary. Is there a established process for who reads the articles? And I think it was alternating, if I remember correctly. I'm looking for some historical information or best practice.
The chair read it. If the chair wasn't available, the vice chair read it.
So the chair read all of them?
Yes.
So if I lose my voice...
You're speaking for the full committee. If you lose your voice, then Megan takes over.
You know what I was going to say?
Tom just needs to bring lots of tea.
I'll bring lots of tea. I have really bad, for the record, I have really bad allergies, which makes it all worse. That's fine. I'm fine with that. I plan to be there for at all of the deliberative sessions, so there's no issue on my part. That was it. So,
Naomi, could I ask a question? Quick clarification: it's definitely going to be changed to the highway garage.
Yes. Yeah, we decided the first session is going to be at the highway garage at 9 o'clock on Saturday, February 6th.
Okay, because our newspaper is going to tell middle school tomorrow when it comes out. I'll see.
Yeah, there was concern in the middle school about, an area to kind of be separate for unmasked versus masked, and the easiest way of doing it was setting it up down at the highway garage. We met down there on Saturday morning and
The only reason I'm asking is I'm going to see if I can somehow make a last minute change so that the newspaper.
Yeah, that's how it got posted.
The change. So,
sure.
Okay, I'll see what I can do.
Yep.
Naomi, will the deliberative session enable people to contribute by Zoom?
No.
You realize that there is a significant skewing of the voters as a result of that. The older you are, the less likely you are to attend. And so it's going to be a very different kind
That's
of
not our decision, Neil. That's a legislature decision. It's
right.
Not our decision.
You can't use Zoom legally?
Exactly. We can broadcast on Zoom so that people can watch it, but you cannot participate in that process on Zoom. And that's legislated. That has nothing to do with the way that we're setting it.
And
so,
that
I'm pretty sure you're familiar with what body that is to be able to direct any comments to.
That was not a governor's executive order. That was a state statute.
The governor's executive order didn't cover that in it. And the copy of his executive order, or it's not an executive order, it's an emergency order related to COVID. It didn't contain that. And the rest of it falls under the statutes related to town meeting.
Thank you.
So will there be a set aside place for unmasked people?
Yes.
Will there be live streaming even though you can't vote?
Yes.
Will that be available for people who don't have cable?
Yes.
Thank you.
So there'll be a Zoom link somewhere posted, like in the on the town website or something.
No, I'm not posting the Zoom link. We got hacked last week with some very nasty, dirty comments. So we can put it out there that you're welcome to do an invite to me. People always do, and I'll be happy to send it to them just like we always done.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right. So as I said, we'll do minutes tomorrow. I just want to go around. Is there anything like last minute that we need to discuss or new business? If not, I'm going to close the meeting.
Good night, all.
Oh, I'm sorry. 7 o'clock tomorrow, just to confirm.
Yep.
All right. Good night.
All right. So closing the meeting at 10:03.